Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before we begin our official proceedings this evening, we invite you to join us in a moment of silence, personal reflection, and prayer. Thank you. I now call this meeting of the Washington City Council to order on January 12th. I invite you to stand as Council Member Peralt will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Would the city clerk please conduct the roll call for the record? Here.
Here. Present.
Present. Here.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. Council, you've received the minutes from the meetings held December 10th, 15th, and the 29th. Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries and the minutes are approved. Next is the adoption of tonight's agenda. Are there any amendments, additions, or deletions to the agenda as it was published? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as it is presented.
Make the motion.
All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed? The agenda is adopted. At this time, we have a special presentation this evening. We are honored to have with us from the North Carolina Department of Labor, the Bureau Chief, Kevin O'Barr. He is here to present the 10-year SHARP Awards to the water treatment plant, wastewater treatment plant, and the Utilities Operations Center. Mr. O'Barr, we would love if you would come forward to the podium to share a few words about this achievement.
as the people are gathering, I'll just add that we work with private sector and public sector employers all across the state. There are a little bit over 500 municipalities in North Carolina. We've got maybe 12 or 15 that participate in this program, and only 4 municipalities have reached the milestone we're celebrating tonight, which is 10 consecutive years in our Safety and Health Recognition Achievement Program. So these employees of the city should be very proud, and you as City Council could be very proud of the people that work here. It's pretty rare company, and as Mitch said, we've got 3 different locations, 2 water locations and the utilities operations that will be receiving this nice plaque in honor of their 10-year milestone. Congratulations, everybody.
Next on our agenda this evening is the consent agenda. For the record, we have no items listed in the consent agenda for tonight, so we will move directly to the next item. We are now at the public comment portion for this evening. Before we would begin, I would just like to remind everybody of the rules. The city manager will call your name from the sign-in sheet. Thank you. And when you come forward, please state your name and address for the record. Comments should be directed to council as a whole and limited to one topic. Individuals will have 3 minutes to speak. If you're here speaking on behalf of a group, you would be provided 5 minutes. Once you have finished your remarks, we ask that you step away from the podium and return to your seat. Right, so for this evening, we have Shannon Russell here to speak.
Excuse me. I need you to press the button, ma'am.
Is it working now? All right, thank you very much, appreciate that. I'm Shannon Russell from 746 West Main Street, and I will be speaking on behalf of a group. I'm a wife, mother, and sassy attorney speaking on behalf of a group of residents, the Main Street Coalition. I'm here tonight because members of this elected body have continued to spread misinformation about the state of our city, to disparage current and former staff, and to avoid addressing their own financial and ethical entanglements. So tonight I'm here to present facts about what happened in the most recent nonpartisan City of Washington election. Let's start with the campaign money. On June 26, 2025, Bobby Robertson, who is now the interim city manager, donated $200 to the committee to elect Ellen Brabo. On July 9th, he donated another $200. On September 23rd, another $200. On September 25th, another $200. And on October 3rd, another $200. That's $1,000 in campaign donations from now city manager Bobby Robertson to Mayor Ellen Brabo. On August 7th, Nick Fritz donated $2,100 to the Mayor Brabo's campaign. On August 8th, the next day, Mayor Brabo's campaign paid $550 to the Beaufort County Republican Party Golf Tournament fundraiser. On August 22nd, Bobby Robertson and David Knight each donated $100 to the Beaufort County Citizens for Better Government Political Action Committee. David Knight, for the record, co-owns Knight Advantage LLC with Janet Knight, who also happens to be the second vice chair of the Beaufort County Republican Party. On that same day, August 22nd, 2025, the Beaufort County Citizens for Better Government, PAC, spent $607 on the blue and white tax cut team yard signs that promoted 5 candidates, including Nick Fritz, Joe Davis, and Max Perrault. Between July 17th and October 27th, Bobby Robertson also gave $100 directly to Max Perrault's campaign. Then, during early voting, Bobby Robertson actively campaigned for the tax cut team and for Mayor Brabo. On Election Day, interim city manager Bobby Robertson was physically present at the Ward 2 polling place, and I know that because I voted there, wearing the Max Perrault name badge and handing out campaign materials for the tax cut team and Mayor Brabo. Joe Davis certified under oath to the North Carolina State Board of Elections that he neither spent more than $1,000 of in-kind or actual funds on his campaign, nor did he accept any campaign contributions.
3 minutes.
Which was filed, no, sir. Thank you. The successful candidates were sworn in on December 10th. Just 5 days later, on December the 15th, a special called meeting included an agenda item to discuss the potentially approve a consulting contract for Knight Advantages LLC, the same company owned by David and Janet Knight, both of whom were tied to campaign funding and party endorsement activities. During the December 15th meeting, Nick Fritz and Joe Davis voted to approve a consulting contract that would have paid up to $30,000 per month. Thankfully, it did not pass. After the failed vote, though, Joe Davis took the opportunity to disparage a local business who was invited by the mayor to speak on the topic of this particular service contract. Then, on December 30th, the city had multiple candidates scheduled to interview for the role of interim city manager. But on December 29th, Nick Fritz, Joe Davis, and Max Perrault called a special called meeting and gave the job to Bobby Robertson, a campaign donor, a campaign volunteer, and a man who had been campaigning for them and the mayor. Bobby Robertson, who is now running your city in the highest staff position, was financially and actively campaigning for the people who put him in that role, just 19 days after taking their oath of office. No interviews, no competition, no transparency, no accountability, but plenty of conflict of interest. So when people ask what's happening in the city, the answer is simple. Follow the money and find the votes. The Main Street Coalition will be back in February, bringing more facts to the people in this body. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. At this time, we will move on to scheduled public appearances. This evening, we have with us Miss Liz Parham. She is the director of the North Carolina Main Street Program for the North Carolina Department of Commerce. She has over 35 years of experience in economic development and oversees the state's efforts to help towns like ours leverage our historic assets for job creation and private investment. Thank you for being here today, Ms. Parham. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Mayor, Council, appreciate your time tonight. My role tonight is to give you some best practices around the Main Street program. You have been in the Main Street program for quite a long time. Whoops, I'll wait for him to pull that up. Great, thanks very much. So, Washington Main Street program. This does not. Gotcha. Still not working. Okay. Oh, I was going up, no wonder. Okay. Well, now that we got the technology worked out. So the North Carolina Main Street program is part of the North Carolina Main Street and Rural Planning Center, which is part of the Department of Commerce. Our role is to inspire asset-based economic development throughout the state by achieving measurable results such as investment, jobs, and business growth. Now, we provide 4 bucket areas, if you will. We offer strategic economic development planning throughout the state of North Carolina. That's kind of our bread and butter, if you will. We provide technical assistance to Main Street communities in the form of program knowledge as well as project development. A lot of training and education to train both staff as well as volunteers, council members as yourself, and then grants. You have recently applied for an $850,000 rural economic development grant for Market Street. We'll be reviewing that. That came in last week. We'll be reviewing that over the coming weeks and then taking that to the Rural Infrastructure Authority Board. But those are basically the benefits that you get from the Main Street program, and they're broad. That's a broad brush and broad stroke at that. Now, again, you've been in the Main Street program for a long time. You started in 1980, and the Main Street program is based on identifying assets in your local community and then building economic development strategies around those assets, and then implementing the Main Street program, which is based on economic vitality, finding new opportunities, new uses, and new investment in your downtown, design, improving the physical appearance of your district, promoting the assets of the community and the district, and then organization, bringing public and private sector partners together for that implementation. Again, you've been in the Main Street program a long time, 1980. You were one of the first ones in the country to be designated as a Main Street program. We now have 72 from Murphy to Manteo that are under the Main Street designation, another 9 under our small town Main Street program, and then 1 in a stepping stone program that we call the Downtown Associate Community Program. Now, we have 3 structures in North Carolina Main Street communities: nonprofits, sole nonprofits, that's the way you're set up currently here, city departments, so city staff, and quasi-public-private models. The quasi-public-private means that it's a city staff member, but also running a nonprofit arm to their program. Now, there's benefits and challenges to both. Certainly, the nonprofit, there's separation from the government. They can speak for the business community, but there's challenges around financial, sustaining staff, benefits, things like that. Now, likewise, with city program, there's both benefits and challenges with that. There's a lot more stability, there's funding stability, but there can be political leadership changes which could uproot a program. Certainly, engaging the private sector can be more challenging from time to time, and maintaining that volunteerism that's so important to a Main Street program. And then similar with the quasi, again, some of those same benefits and challenges, but there is more stable funding, perhaps, with the quasi models than the city programs because you've got funding coming in from the private sector as well. Now, if we were to look at those 72 Main Street programs, 14 are now nonprofits. That number has dramatically diminished over the last 10 years. Used to be more like about 30 nonprofits. The quasi-public-private structures have significantly gone up. And then the city-run programs have been about the same in terms of numbers. The budgets have really shifted, though, over the last, particularly 5 years. The average overall budget for all Main Street programs is $314,000, but you'll see that the nonprofits are less, $255,000 for the average, quasi-models and city-run programs roughly about the same. But let's look at where that money is coming from. Now, the city investments on average in those 72 is $199,000. Again, remember, economic development. There's only a few getting money from the county. There's about 35 that have a municipal service district in their district, so those property owners are financially paying an additional tax for services. Then sponsorships, earned income, a little bit in grants, some Friends of Downtown campaigns, some fundraisers, donations, and interest and other. So a diversified budget is really key to success with Main Street programs. But let's look at the Washington program. Your budget's only about $52,500 for your Main Street program, significantly less than the average. You're getting about $40,000 from the city being invested in the program, a little bit in earned income and a little bit in donations. It's not a very diversified budget. Now, again, my goal here is not to tell you what to do, it's simply to give you information so that you all can make informed decisions as to what you want to do. No matter what the structure, the key really is it needs to be a win-win. It needs to be collaborative, and it must have both the public and the private sectors investing in downtown economic development. In addition to those benefits, in addition to the best practices, we do have staffing, we do have requirements to be in the Main Street program. The first one is a full-time paid staff member. You have not had a full-time paid staff member for the last year. You had an interim director who was not getting paid. So currently you're not meeting that requirement. You must have a structure that's either a nonprofit or a city structure or a quasi. Should have a broad-based community support in terms of partnerships. There should be ways to engage all residents, all community members in the program. It should be an inclusive and inclusive leadership. Again, all people should be welcome and engaged in the downtown revitalization effort. Diversified funding and sustainable programs. Again, I mentioned that already. Strategy-driven programming, meaning that looking at your assets and building a work plan and a 5-year strategic plan around those assets. You've been off on that a little bit lately. And then a preservation-based economic development initiative. In addition to that, demonstrating the impact and the result, we require statistical reporting each year. That is being done. Training and educational requirements, again, we have a robust calendar of training. That is a requirement for all of our Main Street programs to continue to grow, to continue to build capacity at the local level. The reporting, again, the statistics, maintaining an annual membership, $375 with Main Street America, which is our parent company, if you will, nonprofit. Reimbursement when we travel to do strategic planning, that kind of thing, and then sub-license and logo placement, saying that you are a designated Main Street community. I looked at the timeline simply because I thought this was kind of interesting. Again, you were one of the oldest programs. You were designated in 1980. But quickly after that, you dropped out of the program, went inactive for about 9 years. You became active again in 1991 in the program for about another 8 years, and then went inactive again. National Main Street Center started their accreditation process in 2000. You didn't come back into the program until 2003, and then it was another 7 years before you were able to meet National Main Street accreditation. Now, accreditation simply means you are meeting those requirements. Our requirements align directly with National Main Street accreditation. You are accredited for 1 year and then moved into an affiliate status. Affiliate status means that you have an active program, but you're not meeting those best practice requirements. And then you met National Main Street accreditation for a number of years until 2024. That was the last year you were accredited. Last year you became an affiliate. Again, you did not have a paid director, and the plan of work was not up to date. So again, that impacts those accreditation standards. Now, the Main Street program has been quite successful, one of the most successful economic development programs in the state, in the country. $6.1 billion has been invested across the state in all of our Main Street programs, nearly 40,000 new jobs created, and 8,500 businesses. Again, that's a net gain. Here, you have certainly had success. $63 million invested since the onset of the program. Again, that's taking out those years you were inactive. 692 jobs created and 155 businesses. The question really is, are you achieving the desired economic development results that you want to achieve? Is the current organizational structure meeting those needs for you? Are there public and private investment levels sufficient to achieve the desired results? And is there a need for any change? And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have, but really, again, my goal tonight was to provide you with information about your Main Street program.
Thank you, Ms. Parham. I do have one question. Would you be able to articulate for council the different in resources that are available to the City of Washington as an accredited program versus an affiliate program?
Sure. There are some grant programs that are only available to accredited programs at the federal level, at the national level, but that does not impact grant funding at the state level.
Does council have any other questions for Ms. Parham while she's with us this evening? Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Holscher, are we in a position to move into our public hearing at this time? The time is now 6 p.m. As advertised, we will now open the public hearing regarding the request from Richard Gerard to rezone 2.77 acres on Hodges Avenue from O&I to B2. This hearing is now open. I believe we have Mr. Cunningham from our planning department prepared to make a presentation on this.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor Brabo, council members. So this is rezoning for the property from O&I, which is office and institutional, to B2, which is general business. All right, so the property is about 2.7 acres and is located near the intersection of John Small Ave and Hodges Street. It is currently a vacant lot and is surrounded with commercial uses with office and institutional, and there's a little bit of multifamily at the back of the property. As you can see, again, the property's current zoning is office and institutional, and is surrounded by commercial with the multifamily residential at the back. That's the RMF. There is no, give me a second. As you can see, it's a vacant lot, as I said earlier. There's no floodplain for this property. There is a blue line stream, which is just an intermittent swell that kind of runs through the property, but it doesn't affect it wouldn't affect development on that property. The future land use designates that property as office, institutional, and multifamily residential character areas. The requested B2 zoning is not specifically consistent with the adopted future land use. However, it could be found to be consistent with the economic development policy from the land use plan. If approved, rezoning automatically amends the future land use plan, and the property would be reclassified as a commercial character area. The property went before the planning board October 28th, and the planning board did recommend approval, finding that the request is generally consistent with the comprehensive CAMA future land use plan. Specifically, that the request is consistent with the economic development policy for. Do you guys have any questions for me about this rezoning?
You said the planning board did approve it or not?
Yes, they did recommend approval.
Mayor Bravo and members of the council, we passed out actually the O&I classification. In addition to that, the proposed B2 classification. And what we did, you have to consider all the uses that would be in the new classification. We have a handout, it's in the B2 is in front of you tonight. If there are no questions from council this time, we would ask that the property owner come forward and make a presentation.
Does council have any other questions at this time? Okay.
Okay, we have Hugh Sorrell. He's representing the applicant today.
I'm Richard Gerard. We own the property, and like I say, we wanted to get it redone for business. And what our plans are is we have a tackle shop with our other shop, which is Piston Ring and Machine Company, and we plan to move the tackle shop over to that lot and build a new facility there for that, is what we're doing all this for. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer anything you need, or try to. So,
Does council have any questions for Mr. Gerard at this time? Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
thank you.
I believe at this time we'll move to hearing from the public.
That's correct.
Okay. I will first call for anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this zoning request. If you would please come forward to the podium. Okay. I will call for anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to this request to please come forth to the podium. All right. I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Mayor Bravo, we would entertain a motion, and it's found on page 23 at the top. It's either deny or approve the request, and that's right in the agenda package. So we need someone to read either one of those motions.
Does council have any other further discussion before we move into a motion? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
Say again? Did you have a question? No. Are you asking for a motion at this point?
Yes, we need a motion at this point, one way or the other, please.
Madam Mayor, I move the City Council adopt the attached ordinance and approve the requested rezoning from O&I to B2 based on the findings that, 1, the request is generally consistent with the comprehensive CAMA future land use plans commercial character area. 2, the request is consistent with the comprehensive CAMA plans economic development policy. 3, that it is reasonable and in public interest to rezone a property since it would provide an opportunity to provide quality jobs and diverse economic base. 4, and because the uses allowed in the B2 zoning district. I further move that we amend the future land use map to designate the subject area from official O&I and multifamily residential character areas to commercial character area consistent with this action.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we will turn the floor over to the city manager to walk us through correspondence and special reports.
The special reports, as you can see, we have memorandums, 50,000 and above. If you return to page 74, you'll see an outline of those individuals which are above 50,000 in the agenda package. 237,000 went to Pitt County Mark for fuel, 165,000 went to EMS resources, and 136,502 went to Rubens Associates for engineering. Any questions at all from
Are there
staff?
any questions from council?
Beg your pardon? Sure, yeah.
Do we need a motion on any of these?
That's it.
Okay. Next, we will hear reports from our boards, commissions, and committees. First, we will have a report from the Tourism Development Authority. I would invite the tourism director or a board representative who's here this evening to the podium.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Thanks for allowing me to speak this evening. I'm representing Washington Tourism Development Authority, and I'm excited to share some numbers that we pulled from Placer AI from attendance from the inaugural crowd drop on New Year's Eve. So we were able to pull 2 reports through our Placer subscription. The first report encompassed, all of downtown, so from Pitt Street Brewing all the way to Festival Park. So from 5 p.m. that evening until 11 p.m., we had a total of 5,000 visitors. Our highest number of visitors were 3,700 between the hours of 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. One thing of note, after the event ended, we did have a lot of spillover into downtown. So from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m., we averaged 1,000 people downtown who were able to frequent some of our restaurants in breweries that were hosting New Year's Eve events. So overall, a great event for families who wanted to get out early and enjoy the evening, but I do believe our local businesses also benefited after the event from attendance. The second event that the second report that we were able to pull encompassed Festival Park only. So that was the actual event space where all the crowd drop events took place. And so from 5 to 9 p.m., we had 2,900 visitors. One thing of note is that those numbers are probably actually a lot higher because there are a lot of families there, and kids, if they didn't have cell phones, they wouldn't be in that count. So overall, a great event, great numbers. We look forward to it next year. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Erin. For those who might not be familiar with Placer AI, could you just give a brief explanation of what that resource is that the TDA subscribes to?
Sure, yep. It's an annual subscription. It's a software company, just helps us track the number of visitors in a certain area that we set up different pinpoints. So we're able to track, it doesn't just have to be downtown. So if we had an event elsewhere, we're able to track attendance at those numbers. But it's collected through apps on our smartphone. Once you allow an app to track your whereabouts, that's what Placer does. It tracks that technology. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we will have a report from the Airport Authority. Would the representative on behalf of the Airport Authority please come to the podium?
Hey, good evening. Josh Waters, manager for the airport. We really don't have anything to report other than the few things we're working with council on currently. I think we'll discuss a couple of those here in just a little bit. But business as usual for us.
Any updates regarding tomorrow's town hall that you'd want to provide to the community?
As far as...
Those who might not be informed on tomorrow's...
Okay, so tomorrow, 5 to 6, we're having a meet and greet out at the community college. There's going to be representatives from the airport, local representative Keith Kidwell, the community college, the drone company, the airports, working with Accelerate. And there's been a lot of questions about money at the airport, what it's been spent on, programs that are happening with the STEM Center and the community college and drone operations out at the airport. So this is just a meet and greet, get together for people to be able to come out and have an opportunity to discuss one-on-one with the people that are part of these programs to try to get the best answer to their questions.
Thank you, Mr. Waters. Does council have any questions? Thanks. Next, we will receive a report from the Human Relations Council. If a representative could please come forward to the podium.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Henry Capogna, and I chairperson of the Human Relations Council. I was asked by the mayor today to talk to you about one of our most recent events that we did, and that was, of course, the crab drop. My question to all of you out there, how many people attended the crab drop? Good, good. Well, that's just one part of our job. A year ago, just about right now, Mayor Donald Sadler asked us to work with the Tourism Board to put together what Billy Wilson, who came up with this idea to drop a crab from a suspended crane. We thought she was crazy, and we still do. But nonetheless, we got it done, and I want to thank all the members of the committee that did work so hard on this and diligently. I think it's a great event. As a member of the Human Relations Council, obviously there's some things that we could do better and some things that we plan on doing better, but it is a small portion of what we're charged with to perform. Actually, the HRC, the mayor just asked me because he said, you know, some people that we could raise some money to be able to do this, and it didn't cost the city a penny other than just the required services. So we did that. But generally, Mayor, you had asked what we saw. Well, I think it was pretty well promoted on social media. We didn't spend any money in the traditional media is all. About 3,700 people, I think, were probably at Festival Park, which is a lot different than what we normally do on a New Year's Eve. DJ was good, family-friendly, safe environment. It was good timing with the 8 p.m. crab drop. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce and Catherine Glover, who recommended that don't do it at midnight, and the mayor agreed at that point. He said, you know, there might be some litigation or possible potential lawsuits if we did it later. So we were all done and wrapped up by 8:40 after the wonderful fireworks provided by Pacellas Automotive. And all the restaurants, I think, saw a sizable uptick as well. And so we plan on doing this again next year as well. Not sure how involved the Human Relations Council will be. Some of the food trucks, of course, we could use more. We wanted to just try this out to see, you know, how many people we could draw. Now that we know that they will come, we'll have more food trucks next year. Shorter speeches from the gazebo, less politicking from the stage. In terms of the prayer, it should be a non-denominational, if so, and only for a minute. Place the crab as part of the float in the Christmas parade, which we could also use to raise money by offering sponsorships in the little monogram that they've got inside the crab. More live music and possibly a light show rather than fireworks next year. I did want to use this time just also to thank everybody that served on the committee. There were many, and it was my honor to be there. But we are the Washington-Beaufort County Human Relations Council, informally known as the HRC, comprised of 9 members who affect human relations of all citizens residing and working, trading in Washington-Beaufort County. We promote peace. We promote understanding, respect, goodwill, and harmony for all people. I will have to admit that I think this is a rather politically charged atmosphere. If we can be used as a decompression valve, we welcome that opportunity to engage, to bring the community together further. Today there are about 40 human relations councils throughout the state of North Carolina. We are to provide useful communication among various racial, religious, ethnic, and economic groups so that wide differences leading to conflict may be resolved. Think of us as, again, your safety valve. We're here to serve. We like challenges. The things that we try to deal with, of course, are public housing, fair housing, so that everyone is represented at the table. More importantly, I think there's a number of issues that we could also take a look at in terms of transportation, ageism in the community, gerontology, There's a lot of members in our community that could be well-served, and we are here to help. Remember that we're here, and please approach us. We are funded by the City of Washington, and we're grateful for that. Tonight, I'd like to add, though, just from a dialogue, being a member of the Human Relations Council, something how we can affect change. Tonight, the homeless will have a home at St. Peter's Episcopal Church, thanks to Zion Recovery, St. Peter's Church, and Darwin Woolard from the Metropolitan Housing Authority that approached our rector, Chris Adams. And on cold evenings, they are going to be provided shelter at the All Saints Hall at St. Peter's, and it's going to be beginning tonight. So in extremely hot or cold weather, they will have a place to stay. We're glad to make sure that everyone in our community is served. We thank you for your support in the past, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Any
Bertolini.
questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other reports from any other boards or commissions at this time? All right, hearing none, we will move to the next item on our agenda. The next item is appointments. Tonight, we have a vacancy to fill on the Tourism Development Authority. Per the TDA bylaws, the specific seat is designated for a member of the City Council as a full voting member. At this time, I would like to appoint Mayor Pro Tem Fritz to this position. This appointment would run concurrently with the current election cycle. Is there a motion to confirm the appointment of Mayor Pro Tem Fritz to the Tourism Development Authority?
Make the motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed? All right, the motion carries. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Fritz, for your willingness to serve. At this time, we will move into old business. Item A is the adoption of a resolution concerning the de-annexation of property located within the city's corporate limits, specifically at the Washington Warren Airport. This is a matter that was previously discussed at the special city council meeting on December 15th. Council members have the resolution before them this evening, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Robertson.
Thank you, Mayor. It's found on page 78 of your agenda package, and it's the resolution. I'm going to defer this to the city attorney to give you the background information. We also have Josh Waters here if you need to ask any questions, Franz.
If you read the resolution, I hope it's pretty clear. In 2024, we intended to de-annex a second portion of the airport. The first portion was de-annexed about a decade before, and through some type of clerical error, that second portion did not get de-annexed because the metes and bounds description from the first de-annexation was used instead of the correct metes and bounds description. So this resolution asks your appropriate representatives at the local level to send this to the General Assembly representatives to ask that the de-annexation basically be redone. If you're inclined to adopt the motion that's in your agenda package, I would also ask you to add to that, after conversations with the county manager, an authorization for the interim city manager to send a letter to Beaufort County requesting that it not pursue collection of city personal tax bills for 3 accounts that were affected by this de-annexation or de-annexation mistake.
Thank you. Does council have any further discussion?
I do, but I'm not sure if we're on a motion yet. We would need a motion for discussion, right? Franz?
You can go into discussion. You don't necessarily have to have a motion, but once it's called for, you can discuss the motion.
Do we need a motion before we discuss or not?
The mayor can call for discussion before a motion's made. That's allowed. But, I mean, you can go ahead and make a motion if you wish and go into discussion.
I think I'd just move into further, if there's any discussion before we determine what motion needs to be made, either to adopt or to not adopt the resolution.
So my questions are still the same from before. 'Cause I hear that this was already done, but then I hear there was a clerical error. So why would it have to be redone by the city of Washington? Why are we back here again is what I'm asking.
In 2024, the city of Washington sent a meets and bounds description to the North Carolina General Assembly and asked them to pass a local act, and the copy of that local act is Exhibit 2 with this agenda item, and that local act that was passed used the wrong description, used the description from a decade before. So now we're asking for this de-annexation to be redone properly.
So am I hearing you say that the council voted on the wrong document?
No.
Okay, so if the council didn't vote on the wrong document, then what they voted on would still be valid or not? What am I missing?
The council generally authorized, and I'd have to go back and look at my file, the document, to my recollection, did not actually come to city council. It's my understanding or recollection that in 2023-ish, the city made a formal motion that authorized what I call de-annexation number 2. And so the proper officials were given the authority to move forward with that de-annexation.
Right. So why is that back before council if council already voted to move it forward? Because you just said council voted generally to approve it, and there was a clerical error somewhere, but yet it's before us again, and I'm just wondering why. Like, what does this change if there was already an approval to de-annex it?
I just think it's appropriate for us to send a formal resolution to our representatives asking them to do this de-annexation in the proper manner.
So my question is still, if it's already been approved, what are we approving? If it's already been moved forward and already said yes to move this forward by previous council, what are we approving that's going to change anything?
You're approving this resolution and it's going to be sent to your representative.
I get that part, and I don't want to do this. My question is still, if it's already been okayed and already been approved, then what is the difference in that document and this one? And I get it that there was a clerical error.
I don't know what document was sent to the General Assembly by the city.
But you were speaking on it in the previous meeting, saying that there was somebody here that's no longer here that maybe could have possibly sent the wrong document over. So that's why I'm asking these questions now, because we put some people in a space by making that statement out loud for the record. So now I'm trying to figure out where was the clerical error, and just overall, why is it back on the city to fix this if it's already been approved?
The correct meets and bounds description was sent to city representatives. What happened after that point in time, I have no idea. I don't know whether the city sent the wrong meets and bounds description to the General Assembly, or the city might have sent the correct meets and bounds description.
Gotcha.
And then the General Assembly might have transposed the two.
Right.
I do not know where that mistake occurred, and I didn't see whatever was sent to the General Assembly.
So when you said that there was a generalized approval, there were no exacts in that approval because the document wasn't before council when they approved it, right? Or wrong? And did I hear you right when you said that?
My recollection was that there was a general.
Thank you. Yeah, that's right there.
Thank you, Cynthia. Uh-oh. That 2023, 2022.
What day of month was that again? I'm sorry. June 13, 2022. Okay.
Authorize the mayor to request legislative legislation from the General Assembly to de-annex the remaining portion of the Washington Warren Airport property along Market Street located to the east of the terminal by motion of Mayor Pro Tem Brooks, seconded by Councilman Member Robertson. Council authorized the mayor to request legislation from the General Assembly to de-annex the remaining portion of the Washington Warren Airport property along Market Street located to the east of the terminal. And after that happened, obviously quite a bit of time transpired. That property had to be surveyed. That took a little while. And once it was surveyed, the survey was sent to our office. Our office prepared a meets and bounds description, and our office sent that meets and bounds description, which is Exhibit 3 in the materials before you, to the city.
Right. So there was a generalized approval for the de-annexation, right? So with that being said, what are we approving now if it's already been approved? There was a generalized approval done for that property. So why is it back before the council tonight when it's already been approved?
May I ask a follow-on question to that? Can we move forward with rectifying the situation without a resolution of goodwill from current council? Because right now we have a property tax bill from the city of Washington that's expecting payment, that we do also still have to make a decision on how we're going to rectify that.
So that's where I was going, Madam Mayor, because again, there's a lot of responsibility on council to forgive a tax bill and all these other things that the community needs to understand. So that's why I'm trying to find out where does this lie, because right now it seems council didn't do what they were supposed to do, but yet this was approved in 2022 with a generalized approval to say, yes, we're okay with this moving forward to de-annex this space. But now we're here years later, and what I'm understanding from this is we're being asked to also forgive a tax debt for business.
That's not in this action item. That's going to come in a future meeting.
What did you just explain, Madam Mayor, about the taxes? I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it is something that would have to be forthcoming, because the intent, the way I have understood it, the intent is the implementation of the resolution is offering the goodwill, the effort of good faith by council that we intend to ensure that the right de-annexation documents are provided to Representative Kidwell for adoption when the legislature goes back into session. Council then also has to figure out what the solution is for ensuring that these jet owners who never were supposed to be burdened with taxes, that's not money we were supposed to ever receive, are provided a correction for that. And that determination does need to be made by council. But the way I have understood the situation is it's looking that this council, no matter what has happened in the past, is going to look forward on how we correct the situation to ensure the correct meets and bounds are provided. And Mr. Waters is here and could correct me if I'm wrong, but the jets have already left. And I think it would be a huge disservice to our airport to not move forward in good faith, that we are a council of our word, even if it isn't necessarily our word to uphold, but I think that that is what we should do, is we should get this resolution passed, get it corrected, and figure out together as a team what that resolution looks like.
I can understand that it might appear to some that there may be some redundancy in these actions. I just think it's very responsible of us to make sure that the wheels are set back in motion to have the de-annexation accomplished, regardless of how you decide how to handle the jet owner's situation.
Do you have any other questions, Councilman Tyree?
No, we're going to go on what you guys based it on.
Does any other council member have any discussion? Okay. If there's no further discussion, then I will entertain a motion to adopt the resolution as is presented.
I make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, please say aye, and also please raise your hand. All those opposed, please say nay and raise your hand. Okay. All right, the motion carries and the resolution is adopted. All right. At this time, we will now move into our new business for this evening. The first item is the adoption of a budget ordinance amendment regarding the Beaufort County Industrial Development Grant Match. I will turn it over to Susan Squires from the Beaufort County Economic Development Office, who's here to provide a presentation.
Tonight, on behalf of Washington Beaufort County Industrial Park Roadway and Utility Expansion Project, also known as Project Passage. Project Passage is a smart public infrastructure investment that supports the county's long-term economic growth by extending water, sewer, and road improvements along the unimproved Industrial Drive. We're opening up 35 acres in the industrial park. Put simply, this investment strengthens our infrastructure, helps bring and retain industry, creates quality jobs, grows the tax base, and ultimately supports a strong local economy. Our office submitted an application to the North Carolina Department of Commerce Industrial Development Fund, IDF, Utility Account Grant Program. On October 16, 2025, the North Carolina Rural Infrastructure Authority approved the project, and Governor Stein subsequently awarded the project a grant in the amount of $1,254,675. The total estimated construction cost is $1,672,900. The required 25% local match is shared between Beaufort County and the City of Washington. Coordination for this project included collaboration with city leadership with a presentation to the Beaufort County Economic Development Advisory Committee in September 2025. It is the recommendation of our office that the council approve the local matching funds of $188,202 with the corresponding budget amendment for the Washington Beaufort County Industrial Park Roadway and Utility Expansion Project.
Thank you, Ms. Squires. Does council have any questions? All right, well, hearing none, thank you. I will entertain a motion to adopt the budget ordinance amendment for the Industrial Development Grant Match.
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I have a question. Sure. Were these funds already allocated prior to this?
No, they were not. It's coming out of fund balance, so it's coming out of our savings account in order to fund it. Yes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion?
I'd like to ask Mr. Robertson a question. Mr. Robertson, what's your opinion of this?
Oh, it's a joint venture between us and the county. It's in the industrial park. We're definitely for it.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council or discussion?
Mr. Robertson, do we have I know we have the funds in the balance, but are we in a strong enough position to move forward with this?
The answer to that is yes. We do have the fund balance in order to fund this project.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. The next item for new business is a budget ordinance amendment regarding city council cell phones. Mr. Robertson, is there any additional background on this amendment that you'd like to provide?
We have the money if the council wants to step up and make the motion.
Okay. This amendment is before you to ensure that we are properly equipped and compliant with our communications needs. Are there any questions or discussion on this item?
I have questions.
All right, I yield the floor to Councilman Tyree.
I guess I'm not understanding where the cell phone, what's the logic behind council needing a cell phone? No, I'm just looking at you, but I'm not asking you directly. Yeah, so whoever want to take that can take that.
Yes, I'm happy to answer that. This is a question that I asked when I first was elected, and having council devices and giving separation between personal and work ensures that we are in compliance with public records transparency. So the way that it is currently structured, if you are conducting city business on your personal cell phone and a public records or a FOIA request is received by the city, that personal device would need to be turned over for forensic imaging in order to ensure we are compliant with public records law. So not only does this protect both the council member, but it protects the residents to ensure we're compliant in a timely fashion, archival measures and things like that for separation of personal and work. It also maintains continuity for contact information so that your personal number is not the number that is provided, but it is the mayor's number that is provided. It is council members' numbers that are provided. So it just would be helpful for future transitions and ensuring that we are maintaining continuity and accountability.
So, I believe our cell phones, outside of us taking phone calls, unless you're recording the messages and saving them on your phones, I'm not sure where that would be an issue at to have our cell phones. As well as, we all get a check from the city already. If we feel like we need another phone line, why don't we pay for it ourselves? If we feel that, drastic about this whole information sharing and things of that nature, I have my email on my phone. I don't save my emails to my phone, which can be pulled up from anywhere. So again, I'm just not seeing why here we are again with another debt. And well, before I get to that, has this already been budgeted?
No, this is coming out of fund balance.
Right, so here we go again with another charge to the community for a city that we once heard didn't have any funds. So again, I'm just saying, I feel like we already get a check for doing what we do. If we feel that, that need to have a separation there, then use the money to go get your own phone and your own number and not make the city have to pay for it.
Councilman Tyree, I will offer,
Madam Mayor.
if a public's record or FOIA request is received and your personal device has to be turned over if you are conducting personal city business on your personal device, the average cost of a forensic image of a singular device is $4,500. That burden would fall to the taxpayer if you are conducting personal work business on a personal device in your position as an elected official. This is a smart, responsible, proactive decision that is best practice for municipal governments in today's day and age. It is a minimal cost comparative to a FOIA request requesting all of your correspondence regarding any subject matters pertaining to your official duties as an elected official. And I'll be quite transparent. If funds are a concern, you can take it out of the mayor's budget. But that's where I'll leave it at that.
Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor.
I yield the floor to Councilman Davis.
How many, I guess, does anyone know in the last 2 years or the last 4 years, how many of these FOIA requests have come through for council member cell phones? I know we got one from I believe the Daily News asked for one recently, but does anybody have a track record of that over the last 2 years, 4 years? And is there a trail of this? I know she said $4,500. Is there a trail of these $4,500 charges? Because it's obviously, if we're paying $4,500, it's an obvious decision. I mean, I'll pay for mine myself. I don't mind, but anyone, can you answer that question if you don't mind, Mr. Robertson or whoever?
Yeah, to answer the question, the answer to the question is we do track all the cell phones in the city of Washington. I didn't bring that information with me, but I'll be glad to furnish the council with that. And we can go back as many years as you would like.
So am I here? I'm sorry.
And you're just going to check the books and see what's spent on these FOIA requests.
I ran the cost down. You know, I did. It's $60 per month per council member, approximately.
So am I hearing that if there's a FOIA request on my personal phone, there's a difference between that one and the city phone? Or is it the same $4,500, which I don't see any data to support that? But is it the same amount no matter what the phone is?
It's a discount, and I don't have that information.
Oh, so we do get a discount if it's a city phone?
No, so the way so when you have a city-issued device, your correspondence on that city device should solely be for the purposes of official city business. And those types of text messages and correspondence can be archived through a software on the phone. And then it also provides opportunity in the event that you were to lose said device, that your IT department can remotely wipe that device to ensure that any city business that is being conducted on that device is protected. So archival and those types of opportunities exist with the city device for ease of management, as opposed to your personal device. That forensic image that is conducted in order to ensure that all of the correspondence that will need to be filtered through to determine what is city business and what is not city business can be done. That's how I have understood it in terms of the way municipality best practice is being implemented. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adopt the budget ordinance amendment for the city council cell phones.
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye and raise your hand. All those opposed, please say no, nay, and raise your hand.
Nay.
All right. The motion carries. Next on our agenda is the discussion for funding outside agencies and economic development. I will turn this over to our city manager to lead the discussion and present current funding framework.
Thank you, Mayor Brabant. If you don't mind turning in your budget, in the process, we all get ready to go through the budget. It's found on page 118. And what we do every year on an annual basis is that we, meaning the city, fund outside agencies. And this lists all of the funding that the city has done in the past for outside agencies. So this is the first page. If you turn over on the next page, it's discussion of economic development. And you can see right here.
Mr. Robertson, can you please talk into your mic?
I don't know. I'm doing the best I can. Okay. So if you look on this page of 118, you'll see all of the economic development projects that the city has funded in this year's budget. And you can see, for example, I'll just use one. I'm not picking on them, but we've had a lot of conversation about the airport and what we're doing. And this number is dropped a little bit, but the city of Washington, and I have over the years, has funded, a substantial amount to the airport. And then this year's budget is $213,000. So I'm saying over a period of time, and I'll be glad to furnish all that, I was able to get the information from the finance department, and I've run it from 2021 until 2025. And over that period of time, that 5-year period, the city of Washington has subsidized the airport at $1.2 million. And that's a substantial amount. And the reason I'm pointing this out is that we need to look at all the agencies, not just the airport, but each one of these. For example, I love the Civic Center. It's a great attribute. But if you look down here at the Civic Center subsidy, you'll see right here it's $35,000 a year. And then if you add the maintenance, the insurance, et cetera, we're talking about $60,000 a year. And what we need to do is have discussion for the finance department so that we can have a discussion on each one of these items to determine how much money, if any, you're going to fund these agencies that I have on these 2 pages. What we've done in the past, I can't speak about last year and the year before, but typically what we've done, for example, the Boys and Girls Club, we actually call the Boys and Girls Club president in, and we go over the contribution, which is $20,000 a year. So we would call in, the Ruth House, the Design Shelter, Right Flight, so all these that are listed down, we would call them in and give a 15-minute presentation on the budget that they're going to request from the city. And then the council subsequently would vote on those appropriations.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. Does council have any questions or points of discussion?
Member, I would just mention one thing, and we need to talk about, you should have a copy of the proposed budget schedule. Based on the information that I've heard from each of you individually, with the exception of a couple here, you can see that the budget schedule began in December, okay? And the process now that we're down to outside agency and budget request is submitted to the city, and it's here on the 26th of January. So after the 26th, we need to schedule discussion with each one of those agencies, okay? We need to do that. The second thing that concerns me a great deal, and I've had an opportunity to look at the fee schedule, particularly with some of the enterprise funds, et cetera, and I'm concerned about the fact that the City of Washington on an annual basis adopts a fee schedule, and you'll have an opportunity to do that. You'll run down every one of these enterprise funds, et cetera. For example, the Civic Center, you can make a determination about how much you charge each event. The thing that concerned me the most is, through some miraculous thing, the inspection department has not been collecting building permit fees per se. And they've been told to deflect and not charge these individuals. And I'm today, and I had a staff meeting and said, listen, the fee manual was adopted by City Council. I don't have the authority, or nobody with the authority has to delete or add or subtract to the fee schedule for the City of Washington except the mayor and City Council. So whatever it was in the past, I'm telling you, we're going to charge fees. The only waiver we have, if in fact you have a busted water line and you get a sewer charge, if you come in and say you had a repair bill, then we have a modification or reduction, and it's adjusted by the Public Works Department. That's the only deviation from the manual fees.
Thank you. Does council have any questions for Mr. Robertson on this item?
I don't have any questions, but I do want to say that I believe it's around budget cycle when there's either an application for agencies to submit to the city.
That's correct.
And then the city gets the opportunity to look through said application and see if that's something that we want to continue assisting with.
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay, because I didn't want to get it mixed up to say to the community that the city was just funding without any oversight.
Right, no, we're going to go, yes, sir.
Okay, even previously, it's not the idea that the city was funding without oversight. There were applications submitted that council and manager and the city itself had the opportunity to review to either approve or disapprove
Okay.
for
Right.
funding, right?
Right.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks, appreciate it.
Is there any other discussion from council?
I guess that was my question, just to clarify, to make sure that, these different agencies was doing the application. Went through the application process and it was reviewed by council, so, that we just wasn't not just giving them money just to be giving them money. They actually went through that process.
Yes, sir. Their application to the city council is due on the 26th of this month. And then after we receive the application, we're going to send every one of them to you folks, and we'll have a meeting, a discussion meeting, and we'll invite each and every one of them before the city council before you make that decision.
Okay, thank you. Any other council members have discussion or question? All right. Mr. Robertson, do you need any further action at this time on that line item?
No, is this the one about the marina?
Well, next we'll move into the marina.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready.
The next item is a discussion regarding a request from Ray Johnson to lease city property for parking spaces associated with the proposed marina. I will turn over to the city manager to provide the details of the request.
This has actually been before city council on a rezoning request, and I've asked Glenn Moore to come forward. It's also been before the Board of Adjustment, and you need some background information on the request. In addition to that, we have the person who's potentially going to develop the property. Glenn?
Good evening. My name is Glenn Moore. I'm the planning administrator for the city. As Mr. Robertson said, he's asked me to come give some background information on this agenda item. Mr. Johnson came to us late July, early August of this last year, 2025, and inquired about building a commercial marina at 1054 East Main Street on the Runyon Creek. The property was currently zoned light industrial because there was a aluminum welding shop that's been on the site for quite some time. Marinas are only allowed in the B2 commercial and only with a special use permit granted from our Board of Adjustment. Do you have that picture you could put up for me? The next one.
Each member of the council should
Photograph.
have the handout. Okay.
I explained to Mr. Johnson what the process would be, and it's kind of a two-step process. You have to go to, well, it's actually a three-step process. You go to planning board, city council for the rezoning, and then a special use permit for the actual marina would come after that for the board, from the Board of Adjustment. We discussed also that there's a portion of the, can you make that bigger? Or is that as big as it gets? I got some handouts here. There's a portion of the property Mr. Johnson and I discussed that area, and I informed him that he would probably need to go to city manager and city council for some kind of encroachment agreement, leasing it, possibly purchasing it. I said, that's something separate from, completely separate from a rezoning and a special use permit that the city manager and city council would have to partake. Parking requirements for the marina is based on the number of boat slips. It's 1 parking space per 6 boat slips. And according to Mr. Johnson's proposed plan, he would need to provide 6 on-site parking spaces. You go back to that other, yeah. This was the proposed plan that was submitted to the Board of Adjustment. It's a sketch plan. It's not a specific site plan. That's the next step in as far as getting this project approved, if he's able to work something out with the city on parking. I explained to Mr. Johnson about the parking issue, and he needed to get with the city manager about possible lease encroachment agreement, and that would be completely separate from the zoning and would have to be approved by city manager and city council. Mr. Johnson reached out to the previous city manager about the parking situation, and I was not privy to those discussions, but it was my understanding, and it was conveyed to me by the previous city manager, that it would not be an issue and they would work something out. Mr. Johnson proceeded in good faith, and city council approved his rezoning in October 2025. The Board of Adjustment approved his special use permit based on that plan in December 2025. The Board of Adjustment approval for the special use permit was conditional upon him working out some kind of agreement with the city to obtain some of that area to meet the parking requirements. Also, at that meeting, the Board of Adjustment granted a variance based on lot size. The minimum lot size for marina is 1 acre, and he's got 0.27 acres. And they granted that variance as well as a special use. Did anyone have any questions?
Does council have any questions?
Why is the normal minimum lot size 1 acre?
That's the way it's written in the ordinance. You have to meet those specific criteria to get a special use permit, and one of them is minimum lot size of 1 acre.
Was there a suggested lease term for the property?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I do know Mr. Johnson had discussions with the previous city manager. He might could fill you in on that, but I was not privy to that. My job is to handle the rezoning and the special use permit.
Thank you.
Do any other council members have a question for Mr. Moore?
Mayor Brett, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is there parking approved on this plan?
There is.
So those 6 spaces are shown on this map already?
Yes,
That-
on it right there.
That was approved by? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is there any other leased parking throughout the city of Washington?
I'm sure we have leased parking. I'm not aware of specific cases of it.
Yes, yes, it is. Maybe I can help the mayor and members of the council out a little bit here. I did receive a call from Mr. Johnson, and he wanted to know right up front, was I ready for the closing? And I said, are you talking about a real estate closing? He said, yes. I'm scheduled to close on the property, and I need for you to sign the document leasing the property for the parking spaces to my entity. And I said, sir, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't have that authority to do that. And he said, what do you mean? I said, I'm not going to get into discussion about who said what, but I will say this. The city manager, any city manager, doesn't have the authority to be signing leases unless it's brought before the city council. And then he was concerned about it. And I said, look, you can tell whoever's closing it's not going to happen, you know, in the next couple of weeks, because I have to take this request before city council for review, and they can discuss it, and then we'll move forward on it. So he's here tonight. He's going to come up. We're going to ask him, and he'll give his, basically what happened here at the city. So, yes, sir.
This request is to release the property. I'm sorry, not release, but this request is to lease the property, right? The
Right. Well,
encroached piece of property there, that's,
he did approach the city about leasing the property, yes.
right. So this isn't specific to parking spaces. This is a lease of the property where the overflow of the concrete is going.
Right, no.
No?
But that was the first, the second part is I'm familiar with the property. I'm familiar with the relationship that we have with the North Carolina Wildlife Commission. So I picked up the phone and called our city attorney and said, look, do you mind doing the research? I think we have leased this property, the city, to the North Carolina Wildlife Commission, and we don't have authority to be leasing the property to Mr. Johnson. So I turned it over to Franz, and he'll update you on where we are.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what you'll see proposed is a lot more than that concrete that's encroaching. The shaded area shows the concrete, and the additional area shows what was all the way up to the driveway exiting the boat ramp.
So we technically have 2 questions in front of us then, is to lease the property where the concrete is over and also lease parking?
What, the map that they presented is a little more than what's needed. If we are able to, I'm not sure that we are, lease property to him, the area of concrete that's covered, and maybe just a little bit additional area so that he can fit 6 parking spaces. Is
Right.
all he needs. He doesn't technically need that much to meet the 6.
Right, but, and this is just for my brain to wrap around what we're talking about. This isn't to lease a specific parking space. This is to lease the land from the city, if we can, based on the conversation.
That's exactly right. He wants to lease
That-
land.
He wants to lease the land.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, right now, that area outside the concrete and between the driveway to the boat ramp is grass.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're saying track 2 is grass?
That's correct, all except the shaded area that shows the parking lot that encroaches upon the property line, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to be honest, now I'm a little confused, because I had understood it as we were leasing 6 existing parking spaces in a city-owned parking lot. So this lease agreement comes with Mr. Johnson changing the existing city property to either pave it, paint it, and create parking spots that don't already exist.
Correct. If we're able to allow him some kind of encroachment agreement, it's his responsibility to pave it, mark it, maintain it, to meet the requirements. Right now, it is all grass with the exception of that little area that encroaches,
Okay.
that was done back in '62.
And then I guess I have a follow-on question. With there already being commercial businesses that utilize that parking lot space, do we not already have existing lease agreements with Interbanks Outfitters, Backwater Jacks? How does this impact their commercial business?
I don't know of any existing leases. I'm just not familiar with any existing leases we have with them. These parking places would be specifically for this marina and this marina only.
Understood, but how does that impact our existing businesses that are already there utilizing that parking?
It's going to impact them, there's no question about it.
Right, so I would imagine that if a marina has a parking ordinance requirement that they have to have a certain number of spaces per slots, that our commercial businesses doing business have similar parking requirements in order to be in line with code.
Correct.
And so I would think it would be imperative for council to understand before making a decision if existing lease agreements are going to be impacted. Do they exist? And what is it going to do to the businesses that already are operating in a commercial capacity using that parking lot? And if lease agreements are expected to be had, then those are discussions that should probably be had.
I think the parking that Blackwater Jacks, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Robertson, is probably non-conforming because that place has existed way before 1991, 1990 when we had zoning. The only lease that I'm aware of that the city's got now that's come to our attention is the wildlife.
I yield the floor to Councilman Tyree.
That's why I'm trying to get clarity on what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Are we talking about leasing parking spaces, or are we talking about leasing land to a
Land.
business owner?
The land in order to place the parking spaces
Yes,
that are required by the city on our property.
right.
So then I would go back to the question, and is that land already being used right now?
It's grass. It's not being used for anything.
Yeah. It's going to have multiple uses on the property. You said that. Why don't we ask the owner to come forward?
No. What I'm asking you is, since you've already said it, what I'm asking you directly is, the land that is being requested before council right now, is it already being utilized by other businesses, or is it just empty land?
Oh, yes. It's being utilized by the North Carolina Wildlife Commission because we've signed a lease for 50 years.
Gotcha.
Madam Mayor.
I yield the floor to Councilman Davis.
These parking spots, are they just 6 regular full size? Are they long enough where you can have a trailer as well, or is it just, are any of them compact, or?
These are specific to the marina only, and it's based on boat slips, so there will be no boat trailers requirement for parking. He would be required to have the 6 plus the required handicap parking by inspections.
And they would, I guess, vehicles with the trailer would go in those long slips that are kind of right across the street from Backwater Jacks.
It would not serve customers with trailers because it would serve the customers that's boats are in the water and they rent space year-round to keep their boat in the water in those slips. That's only what this parking is for, not for trailer. Yep.
A question, quick.
Yeah, I
So
yield the floor to Councilman Horton.
how would this, impact the businesses that's around?
Oh, there's no question about it. If you have 39 boat slips, you're going to have 39 vehicles at least, and it's definitely going to impact because they're short on parking now. June, July, August, and September, everybody knew you've been down there. I mean, it's a nightmare to get your boat in the water down there in the summertime. To say that it's not going to impact the existing businesses would be a mistake. It is going to impact those businesses. There's no question about it.
Madam Mayor.
I yield the floor to Councilman Davis.
It'll also bring probably boat traffic, I would assume as well, which is a very, very positive for business as well. With people getting off their boats and going to local restaurants.
Well, in all fairness, Mayor, if you don't mind, I think the owners here, the guy who's going to lease the property, and Mr. Johnson, he might want to come forward and tell his side of the story.
Is that okay if we go ahead and move forward to have Mr. Johnson?
I have one question for,
Okay, Councilman Peralt.
there's supposed to be a fuel dock or building associated with this. Is this on this plan?
It is not. We haven't got to that point yet.
Okay.
If he gets his lease worked out, the next step before he's allowed to open is a site-specific plan that
Okay.
shows the parking, the landscaping, the fuel dock, handicap access, everything, and that's reviewed by our technical review committee.
Okay,
We're
thank
not
you.
at that point yet, yeah.
Thank you.
I yield the floor to Councilman Tyree.
Do we also have any of the current business owners here as well, too?
I think there are some, I recognize some of them, I'm sure they're here.
Okay, Madam Mayor, I would ask council if both sides can kind of speak to what's going on in their area.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. All right, thank you, Mr. Moore. Is Mr. Johnson here with us this evening? Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. My name is Ray Johnson, and I'm the person, thanks. I'm the one who's proposed the marina, and I think this is my third time coming before, not this board, but congratulations on your recent election, and it's amazing. But, so I came several times and went before the city council and also before the Board of Adjustment with this proposal. And until now, everybody's been for it. But when I first met with Glenn Moore, he told me up front, he said, hey, you got to have 1 acre of land for a marina. And so I thought at that point that it wasn't going to work. And he said, but I have an idea. He said, the city of Washington owns this lot next door that's hardly being used. He said, maybe the city would consider selling it to you. Maybe for $1 they would sell it to you to get the revenue and get the marina started. And I said, that sounds good. I'd love to look into that. And he told me the next step would be to go to the city manager, who was Jonathan at the time. So I went to Jonathan and said, would the city entertain me purchasing that property so I could have, it's not just a 6 parking lot requirement, it's also the issue of the code requiring 1 acre, and I only have 0.27 acres on this piece. It's a fourth of what the code requires. And so Glenn was in a good faith attempt, I believe, to try to get the development, suggested this might be a solution. And so we pursued it. All of this work that we've done for the last 5 months has been in good faith, based on the fact that we would work out something on that parcel. And it's not just 6 spaces, it's that entire parcel that's owned by the city. So I went to Jonathan, and he said, hey, it'd probably be easier just to work out a lease instead of a purchase. It's a big process to go through for you to try to buy it from the city, but we could probably lease it to you for $1. That's his words, not mine. And so I said, great, can we do that? And he said, absolutely. He said, I'll get working on it. And I know there was some conversation between Jonathan and Glenn. Everyone knew that this was the plan from the very beginning. All of the site work that I have done has been based on this parcel owned by the city being included in these approvals. When I came before this very board originally, the site plan showed this property as part of this marina project. Frankly, I won't buy it unless the city goes along with the lease agreement as proposed. There's just not room for 39 boat slips on 0.27 acres of land. So I've done everything in good faith according to what was told to me from the beginning. I paid all my fees. This wasn't my idea to begin with, the city property. This was proposed to me, and I pursued it. And all of my approvals from you guys, the previous city council, the Board of Adjustments, all of those approvals have been based on not only the property that I'm buying, but also the property that's owned by the city. That's been the site plan from the very beginning. That's the only way we could have got it through the adjustment for the variance. So I would just like to encourage the city council to go forward with what the city council already agreed to in the last meeting. This was the plan proposed, and I think the city ought to be good for its word. Y'all approved it based on this plan from the very beginning. And I found out today for the first time that it's apparently been already leased to wildlife, I would suggest you try to get out of that wildlife lease, because it's been promised to us. The wildlife lease doesn't bring any money into the city, but what I'm proposing brings jobs, brings economic development, and how it's going to impact Backwater Jacks and the other businesses. Let me tell you how it's going to impact them. You're going to have 39 boats sitting there with probably 100 people at any given time who are going to be eating at Backwater Jacks and who are going to be renting the paddle boards. The idea is to attract tourism and bring more people in. My proposal, my lease from the city will create jobs, it'll create business, it'll create money, it'll create tax base versus just a patch of grass sitting there occasionally being used. So, and not only will it impact me if you don't approve it, because I've spent a lot of time for the last 5 months. I've done everything I'm supposed to do. I followed all of Glenn's instructions. I followed all of Jonathan's instructions. I've done everything that I'm supposed to do. I paid all of my fees. Nobody waived my fees, okay? I paid everything I was supposed to pay. And it was promised to me in good faith, we will work it out. Jonathan said, we will work it out. And that's what I think you guys should do, is work it out. And the person who's going to be impacted the most, if you don't approve it, because if you don't approve it, there won't be a marina there. It'll be Leo and his wife who are here tonight. I agreed to buy this property from him based on good faith and the word of the city that no problem, we'll work it out. We'll lease you that space. And now there seems to be some question about it when it became time to sign on the dotted line. That Leo's going to be impacted to the tune of over $600,000. So there's going to be a significant loss if you guys decide not to work with me. And he's here. Would you like to say anything, Leo?
We asked a couple, I think we got a couple of questions too, if we may.
Hi, I'm Leo Bargeld. I'm the owner of 1054 East Main Street, one of the longest owning businesses in Washington. It used to be Carver Machine Works a long time ago. And this gentleman is going to make things better. It's going to look a lot nicer. He's going to dress it up. And I think Washington needs it. You know, I'm class of '83, Washington, and honestly, I think this is the best thing that downtown Washington, or that we've had. And honestly, I've been through a lot. This has been going on for months, and we thought it would go through. This is like the fourth closing now, and we keep getting delayed. But anyway, yes, sir.
I think he had one, and then you can come to me if you want to go ahead.
I yield the floor to Councilman Peralt.
If you're both done, I had a couple of questions. If you're not, feel free to keep going. We didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't.
He just said if we're done. Is there anything else you want to
No,
add?
no, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
Mr. Johnson, I had a couple of questions for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say I'm sorry about the false promise. What we're finding is that there's been a lot of false promises given.
Yeah, and I'm not blaming you in any
No,
way.
I understand. I'm just saying I'm sorry. People give their word on things that they're not allowed to give their word on.
Thank you.
The couple of questions that I had was, you mentioned the economic impact it had on the city and also on job creation. What was the job creation that you had in mind for this?
I could potentially see, I mean, we're not talking hundreds of jobs here, but I could potentially see, at least 10 people on staff working there at any given time. I met with CAMA, and they indicated they would move forward with the gas pumps, and someone has to attend that. The building, and it's kind of hard to see on this television, but there's 2 buildings on the property. In the smaller building, what we intend to do is have a ship store where people bring their boats in. It'd be ice, there'd be drinks, maybe, light tackle. And this would also be open to the people who are there launching their boats at the boat ramp. It's an ideal situation to make boating more accessible and more convenient. That's the goal here. So we'd have to have somebody, a couple people probably, to operate the store. And then the building behind, maybe, I'm a dock builder. I'm a North Carolina licensed marine contractor. I build piers and docks mostly at Lake Norman near Charlotte in Mooresville, North Carolina. And so we intend to hopefully do some dock operations, maybe build some piers, and that could potentially, be 30, 40 people that could work, not necessarily at the site, but out of that site. So there's a lot of job opportunity as a result of this compared to just maintaining some grass that somebody goes and mows. I haven't seen any evidence of the wildlife people using that, and I was shocked to find out today, 5 months into the process, that this property was already leased. That's unacceptable.
Well, you would have hoped that, the proper city officials would have understood who was leasing their land from them at the time when you entered into business with the city. I understand that. The other question, I have two other questions, was, I know this is not a site-specific plan, but the fuel dock that you had, talked about, where in this plan was that potentially going to be put?
Can I walk up here and point it out? So, what we thought would be appropriate would be slip number 1 and slip number 2 would be reserved for a fuel dock. Makes sense. Be closest to the shore, you can pay, fill up the boats.
Okay, perfect, thank you. I'll wait until you get back. The final question that I had, and you stated it earlier, you said that you would not be willing to continue forward with the agreement unless the city leased you the city-owned land for $1. Is that correct?
That's correct, because that's what this whole thing has been based on. The property that I'm purchasing is 0.27 acres, and the property that the city has agreed to lease me, I believe, is 0.20 acres, so it almost doubles the size of the marina. I think that's even still tight because it's less than a half acre where the ordinance requires 1 acre. All of the approvals I have had thus far, including the approval that I got from the city council months ago, the approval that I got from the Board of Adjustment for the variance, were all based on both parcels. From the beginning, this isn't something I've just come back after the fact. This has been the plan all along, and it was suggested by Glenn and Jonathan. I'm not smart enough to think about it. I didn't even know the city owned that property. I was made aware of it by Glenn.
Yes, sir. Did you get a proposed lease term from the city? Did anybody ever give you a
Yes.
proposed time frame?
Yes.
What was that?
Jonathan suggested that it would be rented to me for $1 for 50 years. I know it sounds ridiculous.
So
I
he
didn't
gave,
donate
so,
to any of these guys, okay?
so you got a proposed lease agreement with a verbal agreement without council
That was
approval?
Jonathan's idea, and I'm glad to pay market rent. That's not the issue. Whatever the market rent is, I'm happy to pay that.
Sure.
I'm open to negotiation, but I expect the city to go through because all of this process that has begun from the very beginning has been based on leasing that land.
Sure, I understand. Madam Mayor, I think it's important that people understand that Mr. Johnson was offered a 50-year lease for $1 in a verbal agreement from the former city manager, Jonathan Russell, without city council approval. That's all I have.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor.
Glenn's aware of it too.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Peralt. I yield the floor to Councilman Davis.
Do you have an idea of the final tax value of what you're doing, what it'll bring?
We're going to be looking at investing about $1.5 million total.
1.5 million on
Yes.
top of the land purchase, or
Total.
land purchase plus
Total.
1.5 million?
Somewhere in that range. It's a $600,000 purchase, and we'll probably invest another $1 million.
And then I know
Could be 1.6.
I don't want to step on Max's toes, but one of his big thing is the airport, and we want to. His big thing is the airport, and we want to bring in, I don't know, $200 million in jets because it would just really increase our property tax values, or increase our property taxes coming into the city. Will these boats, would that also have the same impact? Will they'll go into our, will we see property tax revenue for that? Can you answer that?
I'm sure you would receive personal property tax for people who own those boats. I assume that was the reason why it was offered to me to purchase it for $1, because it would increase the tax base. I assumed that's why it was offered to lease it to me for $1, because it would increase the tax base. It makes perfect sense. And I just assumed, I mean, it sounds crazy, you know, those entirely low numbers, but there's a benefit that comes from having a 1.6, it may be worth $2 million. I think as a dock builder and a licensed marine contractor, I'm going to be able to build those docks for cheaper than the average person. So it may be tax value of $2 million when we finish.
And you're the only investor coming in on this. Do you have?
It's just me.
It's just you. And you have plans for more in Washington? And
well, I had plans to buy a home here and at least a second home.
Buy a home here.
I think this is a wonderful town and it's beautiful. And I'm a boating guy. I have a 30-foot cabin cruiser. I love boats. I love docks. I'm in that business. I'm in the marine business.
And you're in Lake Norman. You're doing most
Lake
of your stuff is in
Norman.
Lake Norman right now, and you're looking to bring some business here.
That's correct.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Do you have another question?
Yeah, and just finally, so you're looking for about 1.5 to 2 million.
Yeah.
We'll put onto our property tax books plus whatever the boat revenue, the tourism. So I mean, you're looking multiple millions into Washington.
Yes, it's a beautiful spot.
And then I guess my last, and I'll let this go. But you are open to negotiation, because I don't know that $1 for a 50-year lease is something that we'll get behind as a council. But
absolutely,
we want your business. I think, at least I would think a majority of us would want your business.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Davis. I have a quick question. Mr. Holscher, do we have a copy of the existing lease agreement on file that could be provided to council for that lot?
Yeah, I'd like to have a copy of that too, please.
Everybody. The agreement is actually a memorandum of agreement, and it's with the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission. And when I found out about this recently, I asked the planning department if this would encroach upon that agreement. I haven't been able to get any answers, but this is called a memorandum of agreement. It was entered in 2011, and that's when the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission came in and redid all of the boat slips and the parking at Runyon Creek, and they required us to enter into this memorandum of agreement. They didn't want to do a lease because they said that if you did a lease and had to go through the state bureaucracy, that it would take forever. So we did a memorandum of agreement. I'm not 100% clear how far this agreement goes onto the map that you're looking at. I think that needs to be determined. And because there were maps associated with this, and I didn't write it, and I've even got notes about we needed to attach the maps to this agreement, but that didn't occur. This does say, though, if it's mutually agreed, that either party may terminate its involvement in this agreement by written notice to the other at least 120 days in advance of termination. At that time, the city will reimburse the commission for a prorated amount of the improvements to the site based on a 50-year amortization. The other thing that the purpose of this agreement was to maintain the landing, services, condition as a free public boating access area with no closure of the site except for repair purposes. So before you went too much further with this, I think somebody needs to contact the Resources Commission and find out what their position is as it relates to this. And I'm going to say this real softly. When this came to council in October, I went and looked at the agenda and the minutes, and there wasn't anything written in the agenda or in the minutes about this idea. And what you see before you is a 2.27 acre tract, which I assume Mr. Johnson's purchasing, and then to the southeast you see a 0.2 2-acre tract, which is what the city owns. If you wanted to do a lease or a purchase, there's a statute that requires you, if you lease it for more than 10 years, there's a statutory process that you have to go through, which is the same process that you have to go through when you sell property. And if you sell the property, you would need to receive an offer and publish that offer and have upset bids and get to the end of that process. So like Councilmember Peralta, I'm sorry that Mr. Johnson didn't have all that information when he probably should have had it, but we can't just enter into a lease for 50 years for $1. There's statutory procedures that we have to go through.
Thank you, Mr. Holscher. Councilman Tyree, did you have questions?
Not, I have questions of our planning department.
Sure.
I yield the floor. Or-
Glenn,
So,
whoever you are. There you go.
Question, was there ever any promises from planning towards this plan?
Say that again now?
Were there ever any promises made from city planning towards this?
No.
Idea?
I informed him that there would have to be a decision made
Right.
through the manager by city council. We
So-
don't get into leasing property in planning department.
So, are there any other options that could be utilized for this?
It's a tight parcel.
Right.
I don't know if some of the parking could go around the building, but there again, he's got plans for a fueling station and all that, that probably obviously plays into it as well. There are no options in that area for any kind of off-site parking.
Right. Have we ever worked with anyone to forego the parking requirement?
I've been here 16 years, not to my knowledge.
Is that an option? If you forego the parking requirement, then there's no lease needed?
In order to forego the parking requirements, you would have to get a variance from the zoning ordinance.
I understand, yeah. I mean, there's steps to everything. I'm not saying I'm getting ready to use this pen to forego a parking requirement. I'm just offering options that this is now no longer becomes city business and it becomes the professional business of who's purchasing the property, and the city can work with them to see what's there, what options are there. So we're not tying up our community's time seeing who's gonna save what dime on what business.
I think from a planning standpoint, the 6 required spaces is probably not enough, but that's what's written in the ordinance. When you have that many slips, 1 space per 6 slips, that is very, very conservative.
Has
I
this
think
been
that
through CAMA?
The additional traffic is gonna be an issue. Doing it?
I was asking, has this plan been through CAMA?
Yes, it has. I've met with Cameron.
Mr. Robinson, what
Well,
is your
he
opinion?
may have met, but he didn't have a CAMA permit.
Gotcha,
He
okay.
hadn't gone through 36 different review agencies with the state.
That's what I was
And-
wondering.
And I'm looking at the plan, I'm familiar with CAMA.
Right.
No disrespect, he's in the western part of the state. I don't think he's dealt with CAMA before. In my advice, right up front.
We've also built piers and docks here on the eastern part of the state as well. And I had a meeting with CAMA, and they like this plan. They're for this plan. No, we don't have our permits yet because we don't own the property yet.
I got you. So, Mr. Robinson, what would be the steps that someone who's gone through CAMA that wants to present to council? Is there like an end document that they would present to say, I've gone through this process, I've been
Yeah.
approved, or?
He would go through the site plan review process internally in the city,
Mhm.
and they would review it, and then they would certify the plan, and then we would have the information.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
There's quite a bit of money involved in developing the site plan, so he's kind of going in order of not spending money that he's, not gonna benefit That's why he hasn't done the camera stuff and the
Madam Mayor.
specific site plan is because we're not there yet. We're here.
Thank you. Got you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Mayor Pro Tem?
Is the track 2, is the plan to pave that? I mean, currently that spot is used for parking right now, whether whoever owns it or is supposed to have the lease or whatever is being used as parking right now.
All of that that's referred to as track 2 is not the entire, can you go back to that photograph that's got the circle, the red circle? It's just that grass area. It's not the entire parcel the city owns. The city owns the parking lot and all the way back up to the road.
Clarify that, because, and I'm sorry, but the map says that the southeastern boundary of the .2 acres abuts the asphalt driveway on the left.
Yeah.
Okay.
All that grass area is what he's proposing to lease or use. Just the grass area. It stops at the, like I said, the driveway where you get to the playground. It stops between that and that grass area. So what he's proposing is all grass with the exception of the parking lot of the truck and the guy to the other property.
So he's just proposing to use as parking what's currently being used as parking. He's proposing to use as parking what is currently being used as parking.
What's currently being, yes, and then he uses that additional grass area.
Okay. Thank you. I'm quite interested to see what
Yeah.
Blackwater Jacks has to say.
Because he's got, up against the building and all, there's handicap parking requirements, there's some other areas that have to use that, that's why he's kind of having to put his required parking out to the side.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Moore. Laura, would you come up to the podium, please? Hi, Laura.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilman. I want you to know right now, I'm not here to try to keep a sale from happening, because I got to tell you that Leo's been the best neighbor that we could have ever had in our 21 years of being at Backwater Jacks. I've opened 4 businesses since I've been here. There's a coffee shop where Washington Crab is now, Backwater Jacks, the tavern on River Road next to the Rebel, and now Highwater Social. So I'm pretty aware of how to start a business, how to make it happen. But I've had a front row seat to what's going on at the boat ramp for the last 21 years. And on a beautiful day, when everybody wants their family and friends to be out on the river, and they just bought a beautiful pontoon boat. It's not just the owners of that boat. They're going to invite maybe 6 other people. Each one of those people is going to have a car, and each one of those cars is going to be in a parking spot. Usually they'll be there before Backwater Jacks opens at 11. So if there are 39 boats and it's a beautiful day, there's not enough parking as it is now for the boats that are there. Do we need more boat ramps? Sure. But that area is incredibly congested, and I'm surprised we haven't had more fights than we've had, because we watch what happens when people are putting their boats in on that ramp, and I'm not making that up. So I would love to have Leo sell this, but if you take away the parking that we use, we get between 8 and 10 cars parked along in that green area that you're saying is not being used. It absolutely is being used. I've watched also when people aren't from here and they come to join their friends on the boat to go out on the Pamlico, they sometimes don't know that they're not supposed to park where the boats go. And they go there and they park where the boats go. And then the boats, there's not enough slips for the boat people. There just isn't. It's like, you know, if I tried to get in the pants I wore in 8th grade, it ain't happening. Stop looking. I'm not trying to be funny. The situation is dire. It's not just parking. It's the fact that our street floods probably a third of the year. That's a discussion for another time, but I want you to know that we would absolutely be impacted. And when those 39 owners of those boats who aren't there now take up the spots in front of Backwater Jacks, the business that's been there for 21 years, and the employees, of which we have approximately 40 during the season, will be impacted. Their families will be impacted. And I would hope you would think seriously about not agreeing to this. Leasing to someone else a property that has not been offered to us for $1. You know, it's all been, yeah, can't we all just get along? Let the boats, you know, the people who drive the boats, they need to have places for their trailers. Our employees park way down the street. There's a solution, a possible solution, on the other side of the railroad tracks, which is adjacent to this property, is owned by the Litchfields, and they don't want it. And it's a huge property. It would be a great parking place for a lot of boats. People coming in, 39 additional. So just a solution. I'm not telling anybody what to do because people do that to me all the time. But if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you. Laura, I apologize. When I invited you up, I should have asked you to state your name for the record. Would you mind doing that for us?
My name is Laura Scoble.
Thank you. Does council have any questions for Ms. Scopel?
I got a question. From a city standpoint, how many parking spaces do you need in order to operate?
Every single one that's there now, because we share that with, when somebody comes in there now to go out on the river, we're sharing spaces with them now. And there's, my customers hardly ever have a place to park, but if they want to get there enough, they'll drop their people off and park way down the street. That's what they do. But, you know, I have seen it time and time again. You think it's one boat and one car. It's not. It's one boat and maybe 4 cars, and they all park right there in front of the restaurant, and there are no spots left for my customers. And yet, we think that we want to all get along. You know, that's all we have. And, you know, but the addition of taking away 8 to 10 spots that we use on a regular basis with our customers, that would impact us in a big way.
I just wanted to know, you're the owner of?
Co-owner.
Okay, of Backwater Jacks?
Backwater Jacks and Highwater Social on Highway 17.
Okay, thank you. I was asking for that to go on the record as well.
Okay.
So thank you.
Councilman Davis?
Do you have any, you don't have any private spots over there? Is everything's
Nope.
public?
And there are 2 handicap spots that are designated, and the marker says that they're only going to charge $100, and the fee is $250 now. So if you want to update those, that'd be good. I've seen people use those and skip onto a boat.
Do you see any, as a business owner over there, and you own the property as well, is that correct?
I do. I
Okay.
own all the way from where Haven Street is, Backwater Jacks, through the bike, all the way up to the stop sign.
Do you see any solution parking-wise from your point of view that can?
I mentioned Litchfield property, which is on the other side of the railroad tracks, and it's adjacent to the property. The only thing that separates it is the railroad, and it's flat and it's not marshy.
Yep.
Do we have the Litchfield property?
In your
it's on the
location
map.
map, page 121.
Yeah, it's on the map.
It's on there. Thank you. I appreciate you being here, Ms. Scopel. Does anybody else have a question? All right.
Thank you for listening.
Where does that leave us?
You've got to direct Franz if you want us to look into the North Carolina Wildlife Commission lease.
Does
and see-
council want to move forward with any action at this time? It was a discussion point on the agenda.
If it's a discussion, then it's not up for action, correct? Or it would take X amount of votes to move forward.
I think you could give staff direction to move in a path. I'm just wondering if that would be rash to do that tonight.
But for council action right now, because it was up for discussion, are we here to take action, or is it just discussion? Because if I'm not mistaken, to move from discussion to action, you would need X amount of votes to be added to it, or am I off there?
I think you could take action if you chose.
Could action be just as simple as asking for more information for council?
Sure.
I mean, I think it would be beneficial for all of us to have a copy of that memorandum of agreement. I think it's understanding the implications if that memorandum of agreement was to be voided, or, you know, if we give a 120-day notice, what does that look like for the maintenance of the existing boat ramp and that infrastructure? Understanding, you know, the opportunity to maybe purchase different property. I think there's a lot of different courses of action that more information is needed before council could in good faith make a decision. And if I'm out of turn on that, council, please correct me. So, do we need any official motion or anything to move forward with just gathering more information for council?
We just need to know whether you want us to move forward in some capacity, so I think that's what we're hearing.
Wouldn't that require a council action, or are you saying the mayor can tell you just to move forward? What are you requiring right now?
If you don't have your own consensus for us to provide you with copies of the memorandum of agreement, maps, information concerning the property, then we won't do anything.
Do we need a motion in order to make that consensus? Do we have consensus that we'd like more information?
I would like more information and continue to explore this from my standpoint.
Can we get a right hand for those who would like to move forward with gathering more information? Okay, and a right hand for those who would not like to move forward with gathering more information? Okay, we'll gather more information.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. The next topic on our agenda for this evening is the adoption of a revised City Council Code of Ethics. Our current code has served us well. I am recommending two specific additions to ensure that we are operating at the highest standard of our modern municipal governance. So on page 123 of today's council agenda, council has before them two recommended sections for inclusion. First, I am proposing an ethical awareness program to be included in new member orientation for new council mayors and new mayor-elects. Currently, new members, for those who might not be familiar, that are elected can wait up to 2 months for municipal government training and ethics training that is part of that. So like myself, we don't get to go to municipal government training until January 22nd. So I just think by adopting this model, which is a copy from Cary, North Carolina, would allow the city manager or designee to provide immediate localized ethics training right here at City Hall to ensure any new member elected to council or the mayor's seat would start with a clear understanding of our standards from day one. And then second, the addition is proposing a formal violation censure hearing procedure adopted from the Elizabeth City Code. This provides a transparent, step-by-step roadmap for the council to hold itself accountable. It would ensure that if a violation is alleged, the proceedings are clear for our community and fair to the members involved. And it is about just creating a clear rule of law for our own conduct. Council, I would open the floor for your thoughts or a motion.
I'm reading over the censure portion here. It's my understanding we can't really censure each other all that much one way or another. If you're dissatisfied with what I'm saying, I represent a portion of the city. If I'm dissatisfied with Anton, he represents a portion as well. I'm not sure what is the point of a censure. Not that I'm opposed to putting this in there, I'm just not sure what could happen.
The censure proceedings are a clear outline for the process if it is believed that a council member has violated the adopted code of ethics, which has already been implemented since 2010 and was adopted under state requirements under Mayor Archie Jennings.
So if an individual violate, what's the consequences?
It's not necessarily a consequence so much as a procedural recognition of other council members that what has been brought forth as an allegation of unethical conduct could be addressed in a clear manner that is fair to all parties and always held to the same standard. And then if council was to make a vote to censure, it's making a public statement that council is recognizing that that behavior was unethical and did violate the city code. Councilman Tyree.
Has our legal professional had an opportunity to look at this in regards from state to what we want to do here in the city according to this document?
I read this on Sunday afternoon. I would like to have some more time to read it. One of the things that jumped out at me about the censure, and there is a statutory process for censuring yourselves, is that in essence, what that page that you're talking about inserting, to your point, Councilman, you're going to have a majority of people saying that one or other council members did something wrong. One suggestion that I would have in this is that would put your city council, your attorney in a pretty bad spot, because at that point, I don't know who I would be representing. So I think that you would need for the folks who wanted to bring a censure proceeding, I think they should have a lawyer. And obviously the folks who are the subject of the potential censor can decide if they want to have a lawyer. But I don't think you can have one lawyer participate in a proceeding like that.
Correct. This does outline that an accused council member would have their own counsel present.
Who's going to represent the three members who they're making the allegation?
Would that council member have to pay for their own representation?
I would assume, since the way that it is adopted by the Elizabeth City is that the accused council member would have the right to have counsel present to present and cross-examine expert and other witnesses and to offer evidence, including evidence of the bias of any other council member or the presiding officer.
So who would present evidence on behalf of the 3 or 4 individuals that was bringing the censure proceeding?
It says that the hearing and any deliberations should be conducted in open session in accordance with the state's open meeting statutes.
That's correct.
So would that answer that?
Yeah, you can't do any of this in closed session. It has to be
Right.
done in open session.
So-
My question is, if you have 3 saying 2 people did something wrong, and you have 4 saying one person did something wrong, and you're putting your city attorney in a difficult spot, because I would be asked to, I would probably just ask to recuse myself and say that you needed a lawyer to, because you're asking that attorney to pick a side, and they may not agree with that side, hypothetically.
So, could I,
Councilman Peralt?
I think we should probably move the table this, and as a group, we should come to a consensus on how we'd want to proceed forward with this. As opposed to pulling it from a different city, it should be a standard that Washington sets for its own council members. It seems like it's a pretty complicated process with having the city attorney recuse themselves, having council members have to pay for their own legal representation, and then from the sounds of it also, the city would have to pay an additional lawyer to then not attack, but go against the council members that are accused. I would say that we should probably table this until a further date when we can discuss this as a group, maybe in a planning session or something like that.
Okay, yeah, I will offer the way this is written is council is conducting a public hearing And so council would present the evidence, others could, like, evidence would be presented, you'd follow all the standard public hearing laws and procedures. And so in implementation would not necessarily need to require council so much as the city council is recognizing that, yes, the city code has or has not been violated. Just
I understand. I just don't think that council should vote something in place where our attorney would have to recuse themselves, and we would have to pick up an additional cost on the city and also the council member themselves. Even if it may sound a little hypocritical of me to say that, I don't think we should, burden the city with an additional potential costs that, we don't know what that fee could be in the future. There's no budget ordinance that we could apply to this, given the fact that it would be a public hearing. My position is to table it until further date, until we can discuss it.
Madam Mayor,
Councilman Davis?
I move that we table this as well.
Councilman Tyree?
I think our legal should take a look at this and kind of give us his perspective, and then we go from there. Because again, as long as once sworn in, we're official in this position. So no matter what comes before us, we are due legal representation for anything that comes up. So that would be splitting the hairs, I think, is what I'm hearing you say. There's going to be counsel for both sides. That's going to be covered by someone else, because it's not covered by anyone sitting on this bench, as long as we're performing in an official action, and that comes from being sworn in.
And I was just trying to say hypothetically, what if your city attorney didn't agree with the council members, the subject of the censorship? Then what is that attorney's role in the proceeding at that point?
Do we have a second? There's a motion on the floor.
What's the motion?
A motion to table.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
All right, all those opposed, motion carries. All right, the next item is to adopt the committee of the whole proposal. We had discussed this in previous session as a way to move beyond individual board liaison appointments and toward a more unified approach for city planning. Council, there is an outline in your packet that proposes that we meet the fourth Monday of every month. This would not be an action-oriented business meeting. Rather, it would be a coordination and planning session in order to align our various departments and our commissions. The goal here is simply efficiency and alignment. Meeting 2 weeks after council has conducted an action meeting and 2 weeks before allows for a look-ahead window. I have recommended a participation list in your packet. In order to be respectful of staff time, I would suggest that department heads rotate on a quarterly basis rather than attending every session. This allows us the opportunity for a deep dive into any specific city functions without overextending our personnel. And I would recommend that if we did adopt this, that we would move forward with this in February. But I did want to offer that we would need a consensus on the date as well as the time with the adoption of committee of the whole. So any discussion or questions?
Got a question.
Councilman Horton.
So, so what you're saying that all the boards will come at one time to meet?
A representative from each board, yes.
Okay.
Councilman Tyree.
So is that where the representative comes after their board meets to present to council?
Correct. So your boards would be meeting on a consistent basis and have a representative present at this meeting to provide structured updates, suggested questions that would be answered are what have you worked on since we last met, what's coming up that council should know about, and where would you need the city's coordination and support.
So, just in my opinion, we already have that on Section 7, reports from boards, commissions, and committees. I think once we start moving into that, we're moving more into personnel space, where we're having the personnel forego the city manager to report to council so we have a better understanding of what they're doing. But that's why we have a manager in place to be able to say what's needed and what's not for the city employees themselves and the head of the departments. We also have to remember that a lot of our boards are volunteer-based, and we work around their schedules to ensure that we get buy-in from the entire city and not just ones who are available within one certain time on one certain day. So I feel like if we go to this space, we're now foregoing the idea that everyone has the opportunity to volunteer and be present and talk and speak from their position within the city, and we only get a smaller group of people who are available within the times that council sets. I think this should be a community action, not based around what we can or can't do.
So Councilman Tyree, I appreciate your remarks and your considerations. What I would offer is one of the things that has been brought to my attention time and time again is the points of frustration about business being done in silos, and the boards requesting and the opportunity to get the stakeholders at the same table to move things forward in a more efficient and productive manner. By allowing the board chairs for the different committees like the Human Relations Council and the Tourism Development Authority to be at the table at the same time at a scheduled time allows for us to create a cohesive environment in which if your Parks and Rec director is sitting at the same table in which a New Year's Eve crab drop has been approved and you need tourism's support and the Human Relations Council support, all of those wheels get to move forward on a predicted schedule. And then this discussion and work session planning type meeting informs the upcoming council agenda. So maybe you need specific answers and questions from your Utilities Commission to be presented at council. Those types of things can then be brought forward in a scheduled manner. So then every board representative isn't being asked to come to a council meeting where we're consistently hearing we have no report, we have no updates, and there's no structure for the feedback that we're seeking from our boards and committees. Is there any other comments from council?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I'd just like Mr. Robertson's opinion on this. What Mr. Tyree is saying is there may be a certain amount of redundancy, maybe asking, we may be encroaching sort of on the city manager's position. Go ahead.
It's not a problem. I'm going to do whatever the council asks me to do. If you need information from one of the boards and commissions, I'm going to typically go to each and every one of them. I can summarize and bring that information up.
Okay. Thank you.
Matter of fact, a long time ago, guess what we used to have? We used to have it presented all the time. And you need to know what's going on in the city, particularly from the boards and commissions. And I don't think it's asking too much that administrative support people provide a one-page summary about the planning and zoning board, what they're doing, what they're thinking, and the direction they're headed in. If they're headed in the wrong direction, the council needs to tell them, you know, that you need to go in this direction. Same thing with the Board of Adjustment. I don't mind doing that at all.
And that's coming from our interim manager. So when a full-time position comes about, we still have to consider the idea of we're getting into personnel action by kind of that redundancy of all of our heads report to the manager, and then they have to report to council, and council with the idea of, you know, you may have had experience in planning and all that stuff, which I get that, but all of us up here have not. So us telling them that they're going in the wrong direction would still be taking guidance from the manager and the attorney, because we can't identify the wrong direction until you have, you know, so.
Is there any other comments from council or questions? Do we have a motion?
This is the motion to meet the last Monday of every month.
The fourth Monday, yes. Council would need to determine agreed upon time.
Have we agreed upon that time yet? I mean, this is, to make that motion, we need to discuss such a thing, I would think. If we met the fourth Monday of every month, I think you had mentioned maybe a daytime meeting.
That was, yes, I would offer that so your department heads are at work, your city manager, council members, but also we respect that I did pull together the list of all of our existing committees and authorities, and most of them meet from 4, we have, with the exception of the tourism board, most meet at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. somewhere in there.
So this is making a motion to meet on the fourth Monday of every month at 4 PM, is that correct?
If council would, yes, if there's consensus of council, yes.
So,
Councilman Horton?
question, so with the boards that are meeting, are these, say like for the Human Relations Board, would they be meeting in the same meeting?
Would they be meeting in?
In this meeting that you're talking about now?
So the Human Relations Council, instead of having an appointed council liaison to them, would instead send a representative from the Human Relations Council at their prerogative, like they can rotate members throughout the year, but they would send a representative to the Committee of the Whole to provide council as a whole with the updates, so that other members of other committees and commissions can also hear these updates that are transpiring.
And the reason why I'm asking, because from my understanding, the Human Relations, they don't have a person that works here at the city. So they would have to get off work to come to this meeting, vice versa, have it in the evening time.
Right, that's why the awareness was provided, that having looked at the schedule of where the other groups are already meeting is traditionally outside of your Tourism Development Authority, unless the city website is inaccurate, and I know that changes can be made as new board members are appointed, that traditionally our meetings are taking place between 4 and 5:30 PM for council's awareness.
So my last question will be on this, that if we have this meeting every fourth Tuesday, whenever, Thursday, whenever you say have it, so would they report at our city council meeting, being that are we gonna be there also at this meeting?
Yeah, so the participant list that is provided in your council packet provides a recommendation that city council members, the mayor, the city manager, the city clerk, department heads on a rotational basis, and one representative from each board and commission. And so this is a no action meeting, it is a work session, so that there's structured updates, there's recommendation for keeping it structured to keep it to no more than a 90-minute meeting with specific questions that would be presented and points of discussion, which would allow council then to inform who needs to, if anyone, needs to present to council at the action meeting 2 weeks later as scheduled, and what those questions that need to be answered or what they'd like to hear a follow-up on. So like the example of, I had asked, it would be great to have a New Year's Eve crab drop update. We have all the statistical data. Those types of things could be more pointed, so presentations are not being provided either A, I have nothing to report, we didn't need to waste someone's time to be here, or B, we can be more structured with how those reports and what follow-up action we're looking to take.
All right. So would the community be a part of those meetings?
Yeah, they would follow all the public open meeting laws. You would not have public comment, but the public would be open to attend and listen in. Councilman Tyree.
Did I hear you say that council would not be appointed to the boards and they would just be coming to let
Correct.
council know what's
This is
going on?
in lieu of creating council liaisons.
Okay, so this sounds like we've just wrapped up a nice little bow of take the responsibility from council from getting out in the community and make the council come report back to us to fit our time schedule. So we're asking people who are already volunteering their time to do more than one volunteer meeting to show up at another meeting, so we don't have to be at their first meeting. So HRC, for instance, when they meet, like was just pointed out, nobody on HRC is employed by the city of Washington to be on HRC. So when Human Relations Council would meet, they'd have to also have a volunteer that would say, I can do the regular meeting and I can also do the city meeting instead of the council coming back to report. So this fits the schedule of council, not so much our community.
Again, I will offer the comments that I have received time and time again in my tenure in Washington is that we are planning in silos and it is ineffective. And this presents an opportunity to look at something differently in a way that have been done previously, that is not a new concept, in order to create a more
never said it was a new
efficient,
concept.
more effective discussion, planning session
Right.
to allow for our boards to work in a more cohesive capacity.
So I never said it was a new concept. What I'm saying is, does it fit our community? That's all I'm asking. The volunteers that make things work, and I know it feels great when something as successful goes on in the city of Washington like we've just had, and people are pointing at us saying, you did a great job for you, you know, this looks and feels good, but yet we forego the idea that this was only made possible by the people that live in the city of Washington. And that's on every board that we have here. It's done by the volunteer, not by the council. So when we raised our hand and signed off on that document to say that we were gonna run for office, this was part of what we did for the community to say we're also gonna be a part of the community. It just sounds like we're having people report back to us so we don't have to spend as much time on boards and councils.
I would hope all of our councilmen would attend as many public meetings of our boards and commissions as they deem reasonable and of personal interest or of interest of the residents. This is not to inhibit a council member from attending. They should be attending. I would encourage you to attend. I'll be attending. So, is there any new discussion points to add to this matter? Councilman Peralt.
Mr. Robertson, when was this last adopted? You said that this used to be a common practice?
It was.
When was that?
I don't know, 8 or 10 years ago.
8 to 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, in addition to that, I mean, and you folks need to do that, you'll be getting the building inspection report, you know, that all the new construction inside the corporate limits of the city. You need to know who's doing what with new construction inside the city. And they do it all the time as part of the daily activity to summarize the new building construction permits, pull that information up to me so I can get it to you on a monthly basis to see what's taking place inside the corporate limits of the city.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman Davis.
Mr. Robertson, do you believe that this committee, the whole proposal was a better, was better than what the current practices, or is it similar in nature?
It was time consuming, but at the end I think it was worth it because it did interact, you know, with the council, which is important about what's taking place through the boards and commissions and the general public. I think it is important.
How did you get information when you sat here?
I'm sorry, say it again?
How did you get your information from the numerous boards and councils and department heads when you had the opportunity to serve from this bench?
Oh, I think it's a great idea. There are things that you see.
How did you receive the information?
Oh, I got it from the department heads. I asked them to develop the one-page summary, and they forwarded it up. Matter of fact, what I'm used to doing, and I'm going to get back in it, is every Friday you would receive a memo from me about the activities that took place in the city manager's office. Because I have a lot of contact. I mean, I didn't mind calling, you know, Mr. Johnson, telling him I'm sorry, you know, I can't sign that 50-year lease that you want for $1 a year because I don't have the authority to do that. You folks should have probably got that way before you did tonight. But having said that, we're going to change some things and get the information to you. You need it. You need to have that information.
Councilman Horton.
The last thing I'll say that if all of our meetings are open to the public, we can't keep saying that we're meeting in silos. If all our meetings are open to the public, if our meetings are listed on our website or wherever, however it is, it's up to the public to come if they would like to share their opinions and whatnot.
The silos that are happening are among our boards, commissions, committees, our city, the entities that are making decisions. Like, I think a great example I would offer is we have a 250 committee that had been meeting and had set a date for their celebration, and then Arts of the Pamlico announced that they're going to do a 5K at the same time on the same day that all that work had already been established for. And I know that those are not entities that we're appointing people to, but it's that kind of communication that needs to be happening, and that I believe that something like this can help foster. I think it could have also removed some of the frustrations that were expressed to me around the New Year's Eve crab drop planning process, and maybe some things could have moved more efficiently with just getting the right people at the table. And I would offer, I think it's something you try. You can try it, and you can decide that maybe it's not the most effective thing. You can try it, and maybe it's not monthly, maybe it's quarterly, but if you never try it, you never know. And it has been something that has been effective under past administrations, and I think it's worth exploring getting back to.
Well, I'm just going to use this as an example. And I'm a Main Street kind of guy. I mean, I saw the chart. But the city of Washington should have never lost their downtown Main Street CLG designation. Now, we've got to go back through the process. We're going to talk about that, but we need to designate an employee. We've had it before, and pick up the Main Street program. And the reason we do, you saw the chart, there's dollars that we can leverage to help the Central Business District.
Does council have any more points of discussion? Okay.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve this item.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye and raise your hand. All those opposed, please say no and raise your hand.
Nay.
Thank you. The motion carries. Our final item of new business is the adoption of a revised city social media policy. I have been working in hand with our Public Information Officer, Aaron Rule, in order to develop the robust framework that reflects the current best practices from the UNC School of Government and our neighboring municipalities. The goal is to ensure our digital presence is professional, accessible, and legally compliant. While this is a more robust document that has been presented to council, I will offer just a few key components of this updated policy. This would establish administrative continuity that has not previously existed. It would make our PIO the administrator on all city accounts in order to ensure that we do not lose access to our digital history. It also adds web content accessibility guidelines in order to ensure our content is reachable for all citizens. It establishes a comment moderation and 3-strike rule in order to ensure that we have clearly outlined what constitutes prohibited content, as well as per the UNC School of Government's recommendation, we have recommended the implementation of a 3-strike rule for violators. And there is a policy guidelines in here for elected officials, understanding the difference between personal and official accounts in order to ensure we are all staying compliant with public record law. If adopted, my recommendation would be that this policy is pinned to the top of our Facebook page, posted clearly on the city website, and that any blocked residents on the City of Washington Facebook pages or any other social media be given the opportunity to adhere to these standards with a fresh start. Council, I believe that this policy will protect our city, our staff, and the public's right to transparent communication. Are there any questions for myself or our PIO? Councilman Peralt.
I'd like to kick us off. I have a question for the PIO and also a question for our, I guess technically PIO and city attorney as well.
Okay, what's your question? What's your question?
The first question is going to be for the elected officials. I just am wondering if, I make a post about something in the city, is that considered me speaking on behalf of the city and exercising authority on behalf of the city? And if it is considered that, does my post then have to get approved prior to being, given publicly online?
Which page are you in, which section?
I'm on page 133.
Okay.
Section 2, elected officials, and also the section on personal accounts.
You said page 133?
133.
Elected officials accounts. The official accounts by the mayor and council members where they possess the authority to speak for the city.
So, as an elected official, if I wanted to make a statement on one of my accounts, would I have to get prior approval from a PIO or city manager before putting something publicly, according to this document?
No.
No, okay. And would what I say be taken as speaking for the city and exercising actual city authority?
The way that we have this written is it differentiates that official accounts would include the disclaimer stating that the account is subject to public record laws, and that they wouldn't comply with the city ethics policy, and that the posts would not include campaign fundraising, electioneering, or the promotion of private business interests, except for any city partnerships, and that official accounts are public forums, and that no one should be conducting viewpoint discrimination on an official account.
So then, with that, each one of us would have to add blanket statements to our elected or political accounts saying that, views are expressed or not considered from the city, it's from our own mouth. It's a public forum, exactly what you just said then?
That would be the recommendation, so that if you are
Okay.
going to establish an official account,
Okay.
and if not, you would separate that as a personal account.
And if a council member were to, I don't know, speak negatively against a different public business or private business, what would be the recourse taken from the city if that were to happen then? Okay. The second question I had, sorry, the front to back is mixing me up a little bit.
Yeah.
On page 136, where it talks about confidentiality, section 4, no city official, employee, or authorized agent shall disclose confidential or non-public information obtained through their position with the City of Washington or any social media platform. This applies regardless of whether the individual is posting from an official account or personal account. This also goes and continues to say that it includes that there's possible termination or removal from appointed boards. I was wondering if this statement applies to past employees from the city as well with their families.
That's a great question for legal. I would think it would be whatever is adopted going forward. But in terms of like no people who are no longer employed by this city, I don't know that they would fall under this policy.
Mr. Holscher, do you have any opinion on that? It would be or would not be? Would not be retroactive? But going forward, though, for my opinion on this, there's no repercussion or, action that the city can take if somebody who was working for the city or is currently working for the city, other than termination or removal from a board, there's nothing that would happen if they were to break confidentiality of closed session, personal records, investigations, procurement and legal, or proprietary content.
I think you're asking is, the first question was whether or not this is retroactive or not, meaning that if a city employee had done something that violates this policy, could this policy be used to terminate them? And I think the answer to that is no. I can't speculate on some action that someone may or may not have taken. You just couldn't use this policy as a termination provision, but for me to hypothetically say if they had done something in the past that it can't be used, the social policy doesn't govern, but that would have to be viewed on a case-by-case basis, I think.
Okay, so then also from what you said, we would have to make a change to this document saying that it could not result in termination. Because currently it says that it could result in termination for section 4.
If you reveal closed session content on your Facebook page, I think that would result in, I'm not the HR director.
Where's the
If you resolve criminal investigate, page 136, section 4, confidentiality, if you put criminal investigation sensitive data that is not available to the public on your Facebook page, I imagine that's going to result in disciplinary action, which up to and including termination is what it's worded as. It doesn't say you will be terminated, it says disciplinary action up to and including termination.
I would just like to, I think it's very important that we have something like this, especially following the most recent election. I know that a lot of people, who voted for all of us were kind of upset with how social media is being conducted from us as elected officials and also from the city as well. So I think it's important that we adopt a document like this, but I think it's important that we, think of all the options in this. I also feel that this is something that the city should be proposing to us as opposed to us deciding if somebody's going to be terminated for a post that they make. I don't disagree with what you're saying, though. And I feel like there should be some way that the city can still take action against
This is
I don't mean
document,
this in a targeting way, but if a former employee is disclosing closed session criminal investigations or personal records online after they're terminated, the city should still be able to hold people accountable for that. That's the questions and comments that I have towards this.
right. And so the social media policy is to equip our public information officer with best practices for ensuring that she is equipped to do her job to the best of her or his ability. And so establishing this is not for then council to have oversight of termination proceedings and violations that are taking place. Even with the three-strike rule, that empowers your PIO to have clear guidance and authority in conjunction with the city attorney,
Who's the current PIO?
Aaron Rule.
I believe she's here tonight, right?
Yes.
Okay, so then the PIO would then have to come to council or the city manager to start this process then. So she would have to actively monitor all of our pages, all of the city employees' pages.
No, so your city PIO is managing your City of Washington Facebook page, and with this policy, should be offered or be provided administrative oversight for any existing City of Washington Facebook page. We already have personnel action in our personnel handbook that oversees and provides guidelines to all City of Washington employees on their social media use and conduct online. I'm sure HR would be better served to speak to what those exact policies and proceedings are in terms of how those types of violations might be reported, attention brought to. It is not for the PIO to be spending her days and hours scouring social media pages. Her job is to manage and communicate effectively on behalf of the City of Washington.
Okay, so that's all that I have, other than the fact that according to our attorney, it sounds like we may need to make a small change to section 4, based off what he was saying for termination. That's all that I have to add.
Question.
Councilman Tyree.
First question is, well, first concern, I thought this was going to be for council members, not for personnel. That's what we have at this time, Mr. Robinson, for in HR to work to deal with personnel, not council. So I think the firing part, but, well, that's going to get into my next piece. Attorney Holscher, have you had the opportunity to review this policy proposal
I have. I read it on Sunday.
with the other one? So,
I have some comments, but I mean,
well, before we get into that, could you highlight for me, if you can, when I take office and I take the oath of office, when am I allowed to speak on the city in a non-official capacity?
oh, you're asking me that question?
Yeah, yes.
That's leading up to, I didn't really understand what an elected official account is. I know that it's defined, but
So,
are you saying that on our Facebook page, potentially council members have the ability to go on there and they have their specific page or their specific account on our Facebook page, or is that the account that, they have at home?
But even beyond that, before we get into that, once I take the swearing in of office, when I speak on the city, at any level of business or recreation, when am I not acting in an official capacity?
If it involves city business, you're acting in your official capacity as a council member.
Correct. So I can't turn it off and elect to say some words and be like, I'm not acting as a councilman, I'm just acting as Anthony Tyree, and then say what I want to say about the city and the employees and everything else, and then switch my hat back and say, okay, now I'm acting officially. And my questions to that came under the, what is it, page 140, the distinction of accounts. You have an official account and a personal account. But I can't hide behind the idea of this is my personal account and I'm speaking on city business, closed business or open session. If I'm speaking towards it, I'm creating a space for conversation. So I can't turn it off and say this is my personal account because I'm not operating in a personal capacity when I am sworn into office.
correct. But I would just offer.
I was waiting for him to respond.
I see your point.
Yeah.
And I think what this policy is trying to say is that, I guess if you have, I still don't understand what an official account is, but I guess if you have a personal account and you call it your official account, then you're obviously conducting public business. I would caution a council member from having a personal account and saying, the views expressed are my own and do not represent the city of Washington, and then you then comment on city business.
Yeah, and then you put that up there, but then you comment on city business, you're still you're still operating in an official capacity, right? Or am I taking that wrong?
I would agree with that.
Okay.
And the recommendation is simply best practice from the UNC School of Government, and there's an 80-page slide deck that is publicly available for anybody who would like to review it, is that you have an official, if you are going to conduct city business on social media, because if you are doing so on your personal social media, the same way as your personal device, your personal social media is now public record law. And you have to then turn over in a public's records request your personal Facebook. So again, it's just, you are not required to have an official account. You should always conduct yourself under the code of ethics in which our council has already been adopted. I completely agree. You should have an awareness that no disclaimer voids you of your duty as an elected official. But if you do not have an official account and you have a personal account and you're conducting city business, that personal account is subject to public records law.
I think that's in our ethic guideline anyway. So this social media policy, is this new?
No, we have a social media policy separate from our personnel policy that was adopted in February of 2020 that we did talk about previously.
Right.
This social media policy is a revision of that. We looked at, the city of New Bern has a very robust 5-page social media policy, and we looked through the documentation and recommendations from the UNC School of Government and how in 2025, 2026, in this day and age, best practices and recommendations for social media management.
So what I'm hearing you say is the city of Washington already had a social media policy in place.
Correct.
So the idea that there was never one in place is just false then, correct? Because there was one in place already. So it seems like what we're updating, we may want to get legal advice on that instead of saying what we feel or taking it from a surrounding area, so we have a full understanding of, like, again, you can be fired. Well, once we elect to put something in place, that's the language that we have to go by. We don't get fired. So, and as well as, like,
That language is out, like, you have official social media accounts for elected officials, and you have personal and professional use for the city. It's a modification and a combination of the personnel handbook and the existing social media policy.
which was my understanding, that we're not here to discuss personnel issues. That's what we have him for. We're here to discuss council issues. So if we're going to elect something for council to go into action, we need to ensure that the language is for council and not intruding on whoever's sitting in that seat right there, because that's between them and HR to do. If we want to elect something to hold ourselves accountable, we need to ensure that the language is exactly what it should be based on legal recommendations as well.
And please correct me if I'm wrong. The way I understood the procedure and the recommendation was, instead of updating a personnel handbook and updating a City of Washington social media policy, we were best served to move forward with a singular, more robust social media policy adopted by the City of Washington, being all-inclusive of all elements for our social media usage in the City of Washington, so that everything is streamlined under one document, one understanding, in order to equip and empower our PIO. And it was provided to legal. If legal needs more time for review, that is absolutely a great recommendation. Nothing that is adopted in here was not found somewhere else, not to say that we have to adopt it. It is a recommendation in conjunction with the PIO, and if council would like to modify it, it is their purview to do so.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman Davis?
Can you, who all put this together, who all collaborated to put this together? Between, you said the PIO and yourself, is there anyone else?
No, I had asked at the last meeting about working with the PIO because of my social media and strategic communications background in order to present to council a more comprehensive proposal. And that is what we
So
did.
you and the PIO together?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was provided to legal, which I understand Mr. Holscher is busy. Councilman Peralt.
Similar to, like I said, on the City Council Code of Ethics, I feel like we should probably move to table this until legal has time to review it. Additionally, similar to what I said again, adopting a document from a different city is good maybe for, citing good ideas to add to something, but I believe that, we are Washington, we're the original Washington, and we should be working as a team to put together the standard for what we feel our city deserves. I do believe also that as a council, mayor, city manager, attorney, government as a whole, we do need a planning session to talk about these initiatives and these goals and these projects so we can start moving forward on this to avoid discussions like this.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Peralt. Councilman Horton.
I'll say this also, I'll say this to add, that when we took oath, whenever we did it last month, that we are no longer our own. And even if I have a Facebook page of Antoine Horton for city council or whatever, and I have a Facebook page for Antoine Horton, just Antoine Horton, I'm still a city councilman regardless. So we just have to be mindful of still what we put on Facebook and all of that stuff, because just like as a dad, I can't just flip the strip and say, flip the light, whatever, the light switch and say, I'm gonna be a dad today. And the next day, the next minute, I'm gonna say, I don't feel like being a dad. I'm a city councilman at all times. So we just gotta still be mindful that I don't care where we go. We could be in Florida, we still represent the city of Washington. Because these people, our community voted us in to represent the city. So we have to be mindful of what we put out there on social media. And I'll go as far as say, like, we got to be mindful we put on social media concerning our own colleagues, because we tearing each other down on social media, but we get up here and all of this, yeah. So we just need to be mindful.
I appreciate that sentiment, Councilman Horton. I agree wholeheartedly. I would ask council that if this is tabled, that this is prioritized. Our existing social media policy does not equip our PIO to be effective in moderating social media. We do not have a comments moderation guideline. We do not have a social media action plan. She needs to be equipped to know where council stands on her left and right hand limits and how we are moderating social media and the processes that are in place. And so I would just offer that please council to prioritize that, because we do have residents who this is a priority to them, and it needs to be a priority for her. Do we have?
And last thing.
Yeah, Councilman Horton.
Sorry. And it always go back to maturity. Just because we agree to disagree don't mean I have to run this Facebook and say, well, this is what happened. We're gonna agree to disagree. That's because we're all different. So we just still be mindful of what you say. Yeah.
Thank you. Councilman Tyree, did you have anything else? Councilman Davis? Okay, do we have a motion on the floor?
Madam Mayor, based on what's presented, I move that the city council does not adopt the revised social media policy and have the PIO and legal present something back to the city manager that would then present it to council.
Could that be a table instead of not adopt?
What I have on my document is a recommendation, and there's only one recommendation there, and that's 4. So I'm doing there's a motion on the floor. If you don't want to move with that motion, then you would vote to not do it. But there's an open motion on the floor.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. All right, that concludes our new business for this evening. Do we have any other items from the city manager at this time?
Just a couple. I'm the first one to tell you there are 4 Bobby Robertsons in Beaufort County, and I'm not on Facebook. and I paid my taxes, so I just want you to know that. I don't know about the other three, but I'm here to clarify that. I get a lot of questions about that. Just two items here I think that we need to have meetings to discuss them. The first one is the San Souci Corporation. I think you have a map. It's an east-west corridor going from Market Street over to Highland Drive. It's been 2 years on the discussion end. They've come before the city council. They've asked, are we going to participate in the street? You don't have to answer now, but I think we need to have a lot of discussion among ourselves and the staff about how to, whatever we're going to do with San Souci. They've asked us for an answer. I think we need to stand up and say what we're going to do, if anything, with San Souci Corporation. That's the first one. The second one is Moss Landing, as you well know, has been very successful development. They've run into some issues, and they have talked for 2 years about whether the city of Washington is going to take over their streets. And so we need to actually discuss that. And the other thing that concerns me, you know, it's right behind my house. I've noticed in the summertime that they don't water any of the trees. So they run June, July, August, and September with virtually no water on those trees, and they're suffering. I can look at them, and fortunately we have a landscape architect downstairs, and those trees are stressed. So we need to talk, you know, with Moss Landing about setting up a time about those two items. The third item is travel. I've sort of restricted travel, out-of-state travel with the city. I'm looking at travel. In addition to that, I am looking at, you know, overtime. I'm looking at the overtime reports. I have some concerns about it. I'm going to address that issue, not here, but probably in a couple of weeks I'm going to address it. I'm not ruling out overtime, for heaven's sakes, but there are ways to do overtime. And we've got a variety of folks that work different hours at different times, and it trips in to time and a half. And we've got to be cognizant of the fact of overtime, and it's expensive. On this side, you can't increase employees and at the same time increase time and a half. And so what I'm trying to do is reach a happy medium and get where we need to be. So the other thing is, don't forget about outside agencies and economic development. We need to probably in the 1st of February, we need to have a meeting and invite those other agencies in for discussion for the budget. Because if you look at the budget, guys, fellas and mayor, it's a tight schedule. The current schedule we got is extremely tight.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. Are there any other items from other council members?
Could I just get that one more time, one by one?
Do it, I'm sorry.
Which, the items, just one by one more time?
The first one is we need to run outside agencies. We need to have a discussion about whether you're going to fund those or not. Those folks will come in, they'll make a presentation, usually about 15 minutes, and there's about 8 or 10 of them. And it's right at 87,000 off the top of my head. The second thing is on economic development. That's an in-house, but we do affect other agencies. The top one at the top is $60,000 ahead Mideast. That's just a topic outline. And Mideast didn't get to 60,000. This was just one of the agencies that when we write grants, we contract with them, but we need to talk about how much money you want to fund that.
Right, and then there was also the San Souci development, and what was the other two?
The other one was the streets in Moss Landing.
Streets in Moss Landing.
Yeah, currently they're private streets, and they're asking the city to take over maintenance of those streets. And we'd get a recommendation from Public Works. I think they've been working with them, but it's been an ongoing process for 2 years, and those folks need an answer.
So they want the city to absorb ownership of the streets and maintenance and all that? Okay.
Yeah. It's a little bit more complicated than what I said, but when we enter into the discussion, we'll bring all that information forward. That's all I have, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Tyree.
I have some questions. As we know, we have an interim city manager,
Right.
Mr. Robertson. And your contract has been made public.
It can be public.
No, I'm saying it, I'm not asking you. It has been made public. So my question is, I saw something that I want to ask you. At the end of your 1,000 hours, what is your plan?
My plan, number one, is to deal with this budget.
At the end of your 1,000 hours, what is your plan?
At the end of the 1,000 hours,
Yes, sir.
do exactly what city council instructs me to do and carry out the goals and objectives for the city council.
So you plan on continuing to work?
It won't be with the city at 1,000 hours. I'm done, and I'm doing 1,000 hours because of the retirement system.
Reason why you're doing it or not, that's between you and, that's fine. But at the end of that 1,000 hours, are you saying that you're gonna volunteer your time after that?
Here's the deal. The answer to that is, finance is concerned about that, but there's a project about the volunteer hours. You know, I don't mind volunteer if I have a project that I'm working on, and you hire a manager, he or she, and it runs over the 1,000 hours, I'll be glad to volunteer whatever it takes to conclude that project.
So are you saying that when you get to the 1,000 hours, if there's more work to be done, that you're gonna volunteer your time after that to be in that position? Okay. And also, I wanted to update. I think council previously approved the city to go ahead and move forward with putting out a request for the job position of manager. Where are we with that?
You talking about the city managers?
Yes.
We're gonna talk about that tonight in the executive session.
Well, my question is out here. So my question is, what is the update on the position being posted? Because we've already approved the position to be posted. So I wanted an update on where we are in that process.
We haven't started posting yet, but as soon as we get everything squared away with the script, we're gonna do it.
How do you get to tell us when we post it?
I'll send you an email.
No. How do you get the authority to tell us when you're going to post it? The council has already voted for it to be posted, so I'm looking for an update on that post.
Okay.
And your response is you'll do it when you're good.
I'm gonna do it as soon as I get out of this executive session. It'll be posted this week,
Oh, what? As soon as you get out of this executive session, what's that?
tonight.
Tonight?
Tonight.
Okay, so we're looking at the posting being put up tonight.
We're looking at,
I'm not talking to you.
All right, out of order. Come on. Councilman Davis?
No,
Councilman Tyree has
yeah.
the floor at the moment.
the answer to your question is, I have not posted the job for city manager.
Right.
And what I am saying is, it will be posted this week.
Okay. So would you be the one to post it, or would that be HR?
HR would post it.
Okay. All right. Last question, and this is for Mr. Holscher. We had a presentation tonight that kind of spoke to a lot of council members and stuff like that. If, and I'm saying if because I don't have anything valid in front of me to say this is so, right? But if any of those accusations were founded, would the city be under any type of legal issue? I understand. And I'm not asking you to speak to a direct accusation. What I'm asking you is if any accusation was founded that was brought to the attention of the community, if anything was true, I don't know if it is or not, but I'm asking you, would the city, and I'm saying city as I sit here, but represent the city as a whole, would the city now be under any type of legal litigation? Possible. I understand what you think, but my question's still the same. What closed session will we be going under? What statute? You're the client of whom? I mean, who's your client in that space? Right. Okay. So with that being said, and without speaking to one specific entity or individual, which I'm not, and I'm trying to get you to speak to the part that is public, not the part that's private. Anything that's been private has to be proven in a whole different space. I'm not asking for proof. I'm just asking for, is there any possible litigation that could come before this city council if anything was founded to be true?
My answer to that question to my client, the city council, is my advice to you is we wouldn't talk about that sort of thing in open session. We would talk about it in closed session. If the full board wants me to answer that question in open session, I'll attempt to do that.
So my questions get brought to the board. Okay.
may I say one thing? Here's an example about the city manager position. You might get 50 applications for the city manager. I need some instructions about how you want me to rate the city manager. Unless you want to do every one of them, which is 50, we'll send them all to you, and you can rate them out. What we've done it several different ways. We can get it down to 10 or 5 or whatever you want. And then I normally have 2 people off the city council, on the committee that selects 4 or 5. Depends on how many you want at the end to interview. Then we set up the interview process, interview them, and then we make the recommendation.
Thank you. So I think before you took the seat, we were presented with best practices from my HR.
Right.
And I think that would be where council would come up with an idea of what the hiring team looks like who's on that team, and then we would move forward from there. But I think that would be a lot more HR driven, and not, and maybe that's where you were coming from, saying we was the HR position and not so much you as the interim selection.
That's correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
Any other comments from council at this time?
Yeah, Mr. Robertson, you brought up a number of things that we need to discuss, these things. When are you proposing that we discuss them? I mean, I agree we need to.
I'm ready to go. You guys said you wanted to meet. You told me that. Let's meet. The council has told me, let's meet, let's move the agenda along.
I would like to discuss the San Sushi deal right now, if we're up for it.
Point of order. It's not on the agenda.
Actually, it is. He brought it up.
Just-
Under his discussion.
Right, but just because it's brought up, it's not on the agenda. And to add an item to the agenda, it would take X amount of votes, and that's not your typical majority vote. If I'm wrong there, please help me out.
Yeah, I do think it would be, Franz, Mr. Holscher.
We're under section in your agenda that says any other business for the mayor
Mhm.
or other members of the council. And the city manager brought it up in the previous section, and it sounds like the council member wants to discuss it.
The council member didn't want to discuss it, the council member wants to take action. So again, from what I understand that you've guided council before, is anything that's not on the agenda to be added to the agenda takes more than the majority vote.
No, I don't think there was an intent for an action. I think it was just. to
I'm right
hear about
here.
it.
I'm right here. So, no, so, thank you.
So can we discuss this? Mr. Robertson brought it up. Franz, is this an item we can discuss?
I do think it is imperative that the community has opportunity to know what's going to be discussed at a council meeting. Having sat in the audience and been surprised by things that were not on the agenda, I know it doesn't feel good. And I do know having the understanding of San Sushi, this is a large project that does deserve the community to have an opportunity to be present when that discussion is had. But I would encourage that it be added for the regularly scheduled meeting in February, or if it's deemed that a meeting needs to be before then, that one is so-called.
I just want to be sure I've got this straight. So the first meeting in February, you want me to put down as an action item, Moss Landing Streets, San Sushi Corporation?
I don't think they would be action items if they're being brought for discussion for the first time to council. I think they need to be discussion items.
And you want me to add outside agencies and economic development?
What is the normal process that those presentations would be provided during a regularly scheduled council meeting, or would those normally be provided in a different capacity?
They've done it both ways.
I would defer to the recommendation for council on how they want to receive those reports.
Okay, we'll have it at the first meeting in February.
Is there any other discussion from members of council? Okay. I would like to ask, as a newly elected member, I think it would be very beneficial to have some element of a planning session in which, as a newly elected official, I could receive overview from department heads as to what their services are and what they do and who they are. I think it would be very beneficial for our council members to participate as well. I know Councilman Horton and Councilman Tyree have been in their roles for 2 years, and so if they feel like they've already done that, there's no need to make it an obligation. I just feel like I'm drinking from a fire hose, and it could be beneficial for all of us. Is that something that could be coordinated?
Yeah, well, the staff, including myself, need direction from city council. In other words, is there anything out of the fire rescue EMS that you would like to see? There's something that you've talked to the general community that needs to be added? The same thing with every department. We need some goals and objectives for each one of those departments, so at the end of the fiscal year, June 30th, we can say, this is what we've accomplished. We missed these, we're gonna reprogram them, but this is what we've accomplished this year.
I think first step, if we could get an onboarding session of some sort, my recommendation would be if we could do it on January 21st, let's coordinate it over at the airport. I don't know that we need more than 2 or 3 hours would be my recommendation, but I think it'd be beneficial if we could get that coordinated before those of us who are newly elected are going to our municipal government training, so we have that information in mind.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Is there any other comments at this time? I think 10:30. Yep.
10:30.
We will be now. Yeah, we are. We're on section 12. We're going to section 13. Is there anything else before we move on to the next item?
Yes, I'd like to ask the city manager to adopt a resolution in opposition to U5860 to present to the council for discussion and a vote at the next meeting. Is that something that can be added on there?
Sure.
I think like we could set the agenda and offer things to the agenda without it having to come to vote for the agenda. If council has an interest in something, we can ask for it to be presented just flat out without a vote. If I'm wrong, please.
Sure, it's a resolution in opposition to U5860 by the DOT.
All right. Anything else from council before we move on? All right. At this time, I will entertain a motion to enter into closed session for the purpose of consulting with our attorney and personnel matters pursuant to the North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11.
I make a motion to enter into the closed session under NCGS 143-318.11, A3 attorney-client, and A6 personnel. Also that Brabo versus City of Washington may be discussed as part of attorney-client privilege, part of the closed session as well.
You also add, just for Tiffany's benefit, Bravo versus the city, U.S. District Court, Eastern District of North Carolina, 425 CB 00207 DBM.
Yes.
And then we just need some direction on how you want to separate that last part from the beginning part.
Yeah, I think I would defer to the council's recommendation if that be conducted first, and I'll wait here and then be asked to come back, or if it should be the last matter handled.
Are we adding this to the agenda? I'm a little confused here.
Yes, Councilman Davis has added it as an element that is not part of our existing closed session.
So,
But we didn't, did we vote to add this to the agenda? Am I missing a point on our agenda?
That's on you, Franz.
Yes, I think you can, you have a closed session under attorney-client privilege, and there have been many times that we weren't exactly sure what was going to be encompassed by that, and so we come to a conclusion during the meeting.
So why
You
didn't we
mean-
clarify that in the last meeting when we had closed session? You were specific to what we were going into closed session for. So, and I'm only saying this because you've provided guidance before that said for anything to be added to an already published and produced agenda takes a different number of votes. But now it seems like that's not the same guidance you're giving us. So I'm just trying to get clarity here.
You can't add items to a special meeting agenda unless everyone's here and dealing with an emergency.
All right.
You can add items to your regular agenda.
What does it take vote-wise? Yes. You've told us before to add something to an agenda that it would take, since there's a normal 3-2, it would take 4, because that would be your supermajority. So, to what just took place, what is council legally voting to go into? Because there was something added to it that wasn't already presented to us or the public. So would that need a 4-count vote, or would that need your regular majority? So what'd you just have him say? You clarified under personnel, one of the things we're going to talk about. Okay, thank you.
So I'm confused.
There doesn't have to be a second. The motion can die, and then a new motion can be made, or it can be seconded and it can be voted down, or it can be seconded and it can be voted for. You have options.
So what are we doing?
We need to enter into closed session to discuss attorney-client and personnel matters. And right now, we have a motion on the floor, so I either need a second or silence, and then the motion will die.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. All those in favor of moving into closed session, please say aye and raise your hand. All those, oh,
I want to ask him a question before we vote on this. If we make the motion to move into closed session under what was just previously mentioned, and the motion dies due to not being accepted, are we able to make a second motion after the fact to enter in the closed session for what was already published on the agenda ahead of time?
yes.
So we were making a motion to vote to kill it, to make another motion to approve it.
Or are you just making a motion to move into closed session?
But I'm saying that wasn't already on the agenda. I was never informed that we were going to discuss that. That's the
adding.
problem I
That
have.
it is adding. Council has offered that it can be included. Right now, we have 2 votes on the floor in favor of the motion. Do I have any nays? If you have a nay, can you please raise your hand?
I mean,
Okay, so we have 3 nays. The motion does not pass. I would entertain a motion to move into closed session for the purpose of consulting with our attorney and personnel matters pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye and raise your hand.
yes.
All those opposed, please raise your hand and say no. Did you vote? Okay, good. All right. We are going into closed session.